Good morning. What a wonderful day. It has been raining, and it has been raining, and we're supposed to have more rain. And I've been praying that the Lord kind of focus this rain to our watersheds because we need Ivy to fill up. So it's wonderful. We will begin our meeting this morning with a prayer, and I will ask Don Jackson, if you would, to please come forward. Stand as you are able, and let's begin our meeting with prayer. Microphone is yours, sir.
Father, we are indeed grateful for the rain that you have given to us. And Lord, we, even as the mayor has said, would ask you to direct it towards our watersheds that all of our lakes this year would fill up. Lord, that would be our prayer. And Lord, we are grateful for all that we have received. And Lord, we thank you that you give us a nation in which we can still come to you and open these meetings in prayer. Lord, we are eternally grateful for all of your benefits. Bless the council with great wisdom, and Lord, give them insights, and we ask your grace to be upon this meeting today in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Let's get a picture. Thank you, sir. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Tammy Flewitt's third grade class from Fort Concho Elementary, and I will be assisting them this morning with the pledges of allegiance. So let's say the pledges with the third graders from Fort Concho. Y'all ready? Yes. American flag, get us started.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas.
Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
And I personally cannot think of a better way to start a day than with a bunch of third grade kids saying the Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer. So we're off to a good day. I do have some proclamations this morning, and the first proclamation will involve this group of kids right here. And I'm going to read a proclamation because they are working to save Unsafety City. So I would like to read. Miss Flewitt, where are you? Hi. Okay, just wanted to come up here, you and the teachers. I appreciate y'all bringing these kids up here this morning. It's truly a treat.
It's our pleasure.
Tammy Flewitt's third grade class from Fort Concho Elementary School, who call themselves the Safety City Savers, has started an initiative to bring the safety education facility back from disrepair. As part of the Texas Research Institute for Young Scholars competition, the children from Tammy Flewitt's third grade gifted and talented classes have come up with several ideas to help the San Angelo Police Department and the San Angelo Fire Department revive Safety City. Safety City has been a San Angelo institution for generations of third graders to learn bicycle safety in a miniature version of the city and its streets. More recently, a fire safety program has been added to the education. The students have created their Safety City Savers logo and have printed their creations on the T-shirts and had a day at the mall to sell the T-shirts and get people to sign up to volunteer on April 9 for a work day at Safety City. They also wrote letters to businesses and people they know to give money to help out. This place is near and dear to their hearts, and if they don't get to go, they really want to make sure that others get to go in a safe, wonderful environment. Now, therefore, I, Dwayne Morrison, Mayor of the City of San Angelo, Texas, on behalf of the City Council, do I hereby proclaim April 9, 2016 as Save Safety City in San Angelo and call upon the citizens of our area to recognize this remarkable display of pride in our community. Present this to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And I'll let you make. You got it.
Well, we want to thank you, Mr. Mayor,
Ma'am,
for
and speak to the mic, please. You're on TV.
okay, all right, for the proclamation. I couldn't be prouder of our third graders. They've really worked hard, and they've taken on a big task to save Safety City and spent a lot of hours, many of hours working on this, and I'm really proud of you guys. They've got a little presentation that they want to give to the City Council, if that's okay. So I'll hand it over to you. Okay, all right, thank you.
Y'all need
the Safety City Savers. I am Avery McKee.
I am Callum Sutton.
And I am Weston Ward.
Why we are here. We are a third grade TRIS team from Fort Concho Elementary. And we want to raise awareness for people in San Angelo to save Safety City. We have a passion to get the whole community involved.
It's Weston. Safety City is run down. It is not safe for a child to enter. How could any child learn to enter? No, how could any child learn about safety here? Our class renamed it Unsafety City. What we saw when we went. Okay, as you can see, it is worn down and it is in extreme need of repair. Needs a lot of help. On average, there are about 743 bicycle deaths per year. That is just under 2 deaths per day by a bicycle in the United States. There are an average of 48,000 bicycle injuries per year. Every day, at least one child dies from a home fire. 293 children injured from fires or burns. 90% of all fire-related deaths are due to home fires.
Research about Safety City and learn that you learn 2 things at Safety City. 1, what you do in case of a fire. 2, you learn bicycle safety. Safety City is a miniature version of San Angelo. We have also learned that the board has prepared to launch a new effort to move Safety City to a new location.
City, then look at what would happen. What could happen? Our partners. Our partners. We went to the Safety City board and asked them how we could help. We asked if we could set up a day at the mall to sell T-shirts, write letters to people in the community to help set up a day to save Safety City. They said yes to everything, so that is exactly what we are going to do. We're just wanting to make Unsafety City safe again until the new one gets built. We just wanting to make Unsafety City. Okay. The new Safety City will not be built until they get their funding.
So for now, we are looking for 5 corporate sponsors to help build 5 new buildings.
We are still going to have some work days to paint the old buildings, the train, and the traffic light poles. Thank you, San Angelo, for all your support. Thank you to our mentors. Thank you, City Council, for your time and for allowing us to help.
That was great. I appreciate that. I appreciate the effort you're putting into it. I appreciate the effort that you're putting into Safety City. This is over on MLK, and it's something that's been for quite a while, and it is in great disrepair. I think we said we needed 5 corporate sponsors. Is that what I heard? 5 corporate sponsors from the city of San Angelo that would like to put a building up in Safety City, put their name on it. It's good advertising. I believe there's money involved. We need some money to build Safety City. The police department is working on this. The fire department is working on this. The city council is working on this. What we need to do is get Safety City and put it back where it was. Make Unsafety City, Safety City. Did I say it right? I appreciate so very much your presentation this morning to the citizens, to the council, and I bet you something's going to happen. Let's take a picture. Y'all all get back here. Brian's going to get in front of us. We need all back here so he can get in front. Y'all come up here too.
Still hasn't fallen off. Get any of those Velcro? Dwayne, if you put on that smiley head over there, she won't stand by you.
Were you watching that scary one?
Okay. Hi, I'm Hunter Henry, and I recently learned that y'all are going to take out the light in the stoplight by Washington Chadburn, and I feel like we should leave it in because most all kids in San Angelo walk past that light or walk past that area. And I feel like that kids would pay more attention to a blinking light than just a regular stop sign. Yesterday, an officer showed us a video about bicycle safety, and a bunch of kids ran a stoplight in the video. To me, I would pay more attention to a blinking light that says stop instead of a regular light. So I would really like it if y'all would please leave the blinking light in the stop sign by Washington Chadburn.
Thank you very much.
You're
Very well
They did
stated.
themselves.
Doing a survey.
You get to go back to school.
Have a good day. It's school. Leave this one. And she's not through looking.
Lemonade Day. We've got the kids, and now we've got a cow and a lemon that we're going to recognize. Let me read this Lemonade Day. This is a new program that's a program that I think was started in Houston that's come forward. That's very interesting for our community. Come forward and let me read this. Come, bring your whole entourage up here, Boomer. I hear a chicken.
I like lemonade.
Town Square Media, with its title sponsor Chick-fil-A and many community partners throughout San Angelo, is hosting Lemonade Day on Saturday, May 7 to 16. Lemonade Day teaches the youth of our community how to start, own, and operate their very own lemonade business. These young entrepreneurs, along with a caring adult, will learn what it takes to be successful in business by using a fun and experimental step-by-step process. They will learn how to set goals, plan for success, find an investor, select a site, advertise, build a stand, purchase supplies, make a product, run their business, do basic accounting, open a bank account, and ultimately give something back to the less fortunate. Because of its collaborative, community-wide focus, Lemonade Day has gained remarkable acceptance within businesses, schools, youth organizations, faith-based communities, neighborhoods, and government entities. By all of us working together as a community, we demonstrate to our youth that they are important and that we care about their future. On May 7, every citizen has a role. We are either selling lemonade or we are buying lemonade. Now, therefore, I, Dwayne Morrison, Mayor of the City of San Angelo, Texas, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 7, 2016 as Lemonade Day and encourage community-wide participation in this worthwhile endeavor. Boomer, the microphone's yours, buddy.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
I'll stand over here by the cow.
There you go. No moving, please, okay? Yeah, Lemonade Day, it's a free thing for kids. It's a way to let kids learn how to run their own business, to become an entrepreneur, and they get to start and operate their own lemonade stand, and that's going to be all day May the 7th. Now, each child will need a mentor, whether it's a grandfather, grandmother, aunt, uncle, or mom or dad, and what happens is you'll get one of these lovely yellow backpacks. And each child gets one of these that has complete instructions in it on how to run a lemonade stand that day. You had to learn how to make a budget, get an investor, advertise, choose your location, and host the stand. And with that, kids, after they've made some money, can pay back their investor. They've got a little money to save or share or to give to charity, whatever they like to do with it. It's a good way to build a knowledge base about being an entrepreneur. And not every kid's going to be on Shark Tank, but every kid needs that kind of knowledge. So just saying. And it also promotes teamwork, social, and responsibility. It's going to be Saturday, May the 7th, and you can get all the details, shameless plug here, at 975kgkl.com. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor. Thanks to the City Council, and thanks to our brave cow and lemon for being up this early in the morning. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Lemon head.
Need some police department representatives up here for this next one. Public safety telecommunications. Uh-oh, got them out of order. Still want y'all up. The men and women serving as public safety telecommunicators, 911 operators, dispatchers, and other communication specialists are dedicating to saving lives. These professionals, the unseen first responders, provide critical assistance to all citizens in time of great need, and their specialized skills and calm presence are invaluable to the City of San Angelo. The Commission on State Emergency Communications works with local and state governments to ensure reliable access to emergency telecommunications services. To highlight the invaluable role of public safety telecommunicators, the Commission annually designates a week in April for an awareness campaign. Now, therefore, I, Dwayne Morrison, Mayor of the great City of San Angelo, Texas, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of April 10 through 16 of 2016 as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week and encourage everyone in our community to extend their appreciation to public safety telecommunicators. Their diligent efforts ensure that help is on the way when we need it the most. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
And the microphone is yours. Make speak. Hey, Jeff.
Oh, it'll just be pretty short. No, I just want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the support. City Council, city staff, we appreciate the support. These men and women that do work there in dispatch, they work a lot of hours. We're kind of short-staffed right now, and we're working on that, but they put in a lot of hours, and they are those first contacts that when people need help, they're the first ones that get that ball rolling. And they are those behind-the-scenes people. And but I assure you, I see their work every day, and it's a tough job. And I just appreciate the work that they do. Also, thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to say something, Jeff? Okay. Let's get a picture. Come here. Let's. Who's going to do this? You or Anthony on this award? Come on, Anthony. He made it. He found it. Usually, Anthony travels in pairs. One of them knows the way here, and the other knows the way back. So, good morning. The City of San Angelo Public Information Office won 2 gold awards at the American Advertising Federation's local ADDY Awards on February 26th, including the Best of Show trophy for a video entitled This Place Matters. The award-winning 99-second video is a montage of visual vignettes. And again, that's a word we don't use very often on the north side of town. Vignettes. It tells the story of what makes San Angelo special. It features Fort Concho, Water Lilies, Angelo State University, and Goodfellow Air Force Base, among other local landmarks. Since debuting on the City of San Angelo Public Information Facebook page in September, this video has gone viral, having been viewed more than 185,000 times online. Public Information also won a gold award for answering the call, a recruitment video for the San Angelo Fire Department. Both videos will advance to compete in the AAS regional competition. This was the first year that the Public Information Office has entered the ADDY Awards. The awards, yet again, underscore how fortunate the City of San Angelo is to have on staff multimedia coordinator Brian Groves. Brian is a videographer who is immensely talented, unquestionably committed to public service, and utterly devoted to showcasing San Angelo and its many charms. Therefore, I, Dwayne Morrison, Mayor of the City of San Angelo, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby recognize and applaud the City of San Angelo Public Information Office for its achievements and positive determination to make a difference in our community. And we have a very, very nice little plaque here. Yes. And Brian, Anthony, one of you, or both of you have the mic. Okay.
First of all, apologies to the mayor for throwing some French into that recognition. As you may have noticed, my name was not mentioned during that recognition, and with very good reason. It is because my contribution to the award-winning videos were minimal at best. I think for the This Place Matters video, I suggested a montage format and suggested that Brian also put some high school football in there, and that was about it. But I did want to recognize Brian because, I mean, he does so much for our city and for our community in showcasing all of our many charms. And I'm a little disappointed that Councilwoman Charlotte Farmer is not here today because she was sort of the driving force behind this video. She wanted us to do a video to promote San Angelo for next year's Ports to Plains conference. And so without her inspiration, we wouldn't be standing up here today holding this marvelous trophy. So once again, thank you, Councilwoman Farmer, and thank you, Brian.
We'll see.
We may have to get together and make that one again. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Brian. And I have one more recognition this morning. I attended the Bluegrass Festival at the Wells Fargo Arena. Am I right? That's right, in Pavilion 2 weeks ago. And this is the second or the third that I have attended. This is the beatinest show I have ever seen. We had kids there from Missouri. We had an 8-year-old boy that played the bass fiddle. We had a 14-year-old girl that could sing like Patsy Cline and played the mandolin, and her 16-year-old brother could play the fiddle. We could play everything, and these were the most phenomenal. If I had not seen and heard them perform, I wouldn't believed it. But this is a performance that the Concho Grass puts on every year. And they put this on, and the proceeds of this goes to our Concho Valley Girls Home. So I thought that it was very appropriate today to recognize Ricky Rogers and Randy Blackwood and the other 2 members of the Concho Grass for their contribution in this wonderful Bluegrass Festival. I've got Sammy Rippert here that I want to recognize as the director of the Girls Home. I've got the board members here because this is a community effort of San Angelo people working together to help our community. And I think it is something that is worthy of praise. It's honor of slapping them on the back, and it's worthy of saying thank you. So y'all come forward, and I'll start reading this. Since 1973, the CVHG CES has provided a safe haven and life skills training for the abused and neglected children and youth of West Texas. Community support and fundraisers enable the organization to offer these vital services. Recognizing the need to give a child a chance for a brighter future, the late Nelson McGee and Ricky Rogers organized a Bluegrass Festival as a source of funding. This year marked the 9th gathering, which continues to be an ongoing asset to the organization as well as the community as a whole. Therefore, I, Dwayne Morrison, Mayor of the great city of San Angelo, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby recognize and applaud Concho Valley Concho Valley Home for Girls and Children's Emergency Shelter for their dedication and positive determination for making a difference in our community. Sammy,
Sir?
I'll give that to you, and you also have the microphone.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the council, and we're very happy to do this. Bluegrass is a blessing that came into our lives through Nelson and Ricky and now Randy and Concho Grass. So it's a wonderful genre of music. That's more French. And and it really represents the best of what American values are. And that's what we try to instill in the young people whose lives we have a chance to touch. We couldn't do it without the whole community, and we truly appreciate it. And Ricky is really the talker, so he needs to say something, he and Randy.
And introduce you other two band members and tell us about it.
Oh, I forgot to introduce the board. I'd like to introduce my brave board members that were able to make it this morning. We have Patty Ballard, Janice Dismukes, Noreen Carpenter, and Cassie Coffey is is an employee, but she's really above and beyond an employee. So, Ricky, you got it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for having us here. We appreciate being here this morning and getting this fine recognition. We wanted to introduce the band. Our band leader is Randy Blackwood. He's played off and on with this band, I guess, from the 80s, somewhere in there, and 79, so getting close. And the other two members of the band right now is Aaron Henshaw, and he's working today, and Bobby Yos. He lives up in Buffalo Gap. So Nelson McGee kind of got with me back a few years back and wanted to do something for the girls' home, and he knew bluegrass, and so he got me to help him. Well, he passed away a few years ago and kind of passed the torch on to me, and so we're glad to do this, and we'd like to thank the community, the San Angelo Stock Show and Rodeo out there. Kermit Wendland are great to work with, the city, and you know, there's a lot of people to thank, the bands, the fans. We're all partners in this, and so we just appreciate everything. We have a lot of sponsors that we raise money beforehand. We thank every one of them for that, and if you haven't been out there, you need to look at us next year and come out April 7th and 8th at the Wells Fargo Pavilion. We'd love for you to come out there and see what we got going on. It's one of the best family projects probably in San Angelo. You can bring your kids, your grandkids out there, and it's good for everybody. Thank y'all.
Hey, boss. All right. Would like to make a couple of housekeeping announcements before we move on to the rest of our agenda. One is the absence of Charlotte Farmer. Charlotte Farmer is a member of the Ports to Plains Board, and they are having their annual meeting in Washington, D.C. this week. So they'll be meeting with congressmen and representatives and other members of the transportation industry. So she is there working for us, and we're always trying to get some highway funds for our area. The Ports to Plains have been very good at this. Also, I would like you to read a special note on the agenda. We do have a special joint meeting with the City of San Angelo Development Corporation, COSA DC, scheduled for 12 noon. So we've got the board members of COSA DC are coming in for a special meeting. So at 12 o'clock, we will break, regardless of where we are in our agenda, because we do have this special meeting planned. So those are the only two housekeepings I know. Let's move on now to public comment. Issues or items that are not on the agenda may be raised by the public at this time. Citizens should speak from the podium, begin by stating their name, and limit remarks to less than 5 minutes. Council members may request that a discussed item be placed on a future agenda. The council takes public comment on all regular agenda items during discussion of those items. So I would ask you to come to the front and line up behind our first gentleman here if you wish to approach the city council. If you have any comments or if you wish to talk about anything that is not on the agenda, this is your opportunity. You're first, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor, and council members and the public. My name is R.A. Cantrell. At your last meeting, you brought forth the results from your public online poll to see how people felt about the bulk garbage collection. At that time, I tried to ask you to run another public online poll to ask people how they felt about gaining the use of their alleys back. And I was told I was out of order, it wasn't timely, and I sincerely apologize for that breach of decorum, Your Honor. Please, would you...
That bump sound is the mayor being thrown under the bus.
Well, Mr. Mayor, would you please conduct an online poll or some sort of poll to gauge the feelings of the public about the use of the alleys?
Thank you,
sir. Would you, sir?
Thank you for your request. That's all we can do at this time.
Thank you for your response. As an addenda, I thought that maybe that other poll would be on the agenda today, the results of it, but I see it's not.
No, we're waiting for financial information on that before we make a decision.
Is it under the bus there with you?
Oh, I like that one.
Thanks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else care to approach the council?
Harry Thomas. I've got a couple of town hall meetings scheduled. One for tomorrow afternoon at Maggie's on Avenue L and Hill Street at 6 o'clock, and one on next Wednesday, the 27th, at Fernandez Restaurant on 9th and South and North Chadbourn at 5:30. I want the people from San Angelo, especially from SMD3, to come out, and we'll have some discussion on some of the issues that they want to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. Any other comment? Good morning, sir.
I've got a real simple question first.
Let's start with your name, please.
Lloyd Davidson.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Is the Twin Buttes issue on the agenda today?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want you left out.
We'll discuss it at that time, sir. Thank you. Any further comments? Anthony?
Good morning again, Council. Anthony Wilson. I'm your Public Information Officer. We wanted to bring two things to your attention. One is, as of April 5th, the last City Council meeting, we are now broadcasting SATV in high definition on the Suddenlink cable system. Yes, so if you'll tune in to Suddenlink cable channel 117, you can watch all the wonderful programming that Brian produces in high definition, which is the way it's meant to be viewed. So I commend that to everyone who watches SATV. Secondly, you will find at your seats this book. Which is Surprising San Angelo. And you may recall a couple years ago, we entered into a contract with HPN Books to produce this coffee table book about our community at no cost to the city, although we did actually benefit from it financially because we received 8% of the ad revenues that went into making this book possible. It is now available for sale on Amazon.com if you'll search for Surprising San Angelo, and we also have copies available in the Fort Concho gift shop. So The photography is by Melissa Davis Crump. The writing is by Becca Sankey, and I have to say it's an outstanding publication. So I hope you'll all get a chance to peruse it. And if you don't have a copy, you're one of our viewers or perhaps someone in the audience, check out Amazon.com or go by the Fort Concho gift shop.
Thank you, Anthony. We've been waiting for this book. Thank you, sir. Further comments from the public?
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make note that early voting begins April 25th, and any information on the voting location times, any of that, even for Election Day, is available on our website. Thank you.
And this is a very important election. We've got single-member districts 1, 3, 5, and the police chief race is going to be on this election, so you need to vote. This is a very important election. Further comments? Going once? Okay, public comment session is over. Now I will go to my council. Council, this is the time that you have to make any announcements that you want to make. If you wish to pull any of the items that is on the consent agenda and put it on the regular agenda, this is your opportunity. Start with you, Ms. Grindstaff.
I'd like to pull item C.
C. Item C will go to the regular agenda. Anything else, ma'am?
No, sir, thank you.
Ms. Lacy?
Nothing, Mayor.
Johnny?
I just wanted to make a quick comment on the young girl that talked at the end about the light at Chadburn in Washington. I've gotten a few phone calls. The same thing happened when we were looking at Coberland and Main Street or removing that light. And if you see it today, that traffic is moving very smoothly. And it just, I think that the name of the game is to continue, just have that continuous flow of traffic. And I think what the surveys are happening right now, people will find out that you come up to a stop sign or a blinking light, it's going to be a lot quicker for you to cross that road. So it is in a survey mode right now. I think it'll be there for 90 days. But just so the folks will understand that we're at least looking at it. If it doesn't work, well, then we'll know, 90 days later. But it's not a safety issue. It's just a way of us trying to just get that traffic out of the way for them to cross to go to school. So just want to throw that out there.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Marty, did you have anything, sir?
I had a question about C also.
Okay. Rodney?
Also C, and then I also want to let the public know that there's an Animal Shelter Advisory Committee that's happening on Thursday at 12 here. And one of the items that's on the meeting is the discussion and possible action related to limiting pit bull breeds within the city limit. This is a big issue, and I've gotten a lot of phone calls, and I've gotten people that have come to me saying this really needs to be stopped because it's not really the pit bull or it's not the breed's fault. And if we limited pit bulls, then the next dog is going to be, I have 2 German Shepherds. I mean, a lot of people don't like German Shepherds, so are you going to say I can't have a German Shepherd in the city limit? We need to make sure, and if we do anything with pit bulls, it needs to be with the owners. The owners are the ones that are making these dogs where they're vicious dogs, if they are a vicious dog. The dogs themselves are not bad dogs. So that meeting is on Thursday at 12 in this room.
Anything else, Rodney?
That's it.
Okay. I have one announcement to make. I went out last week and drilled a couple of very small holes in the bottom of the trash cans for a friend of mine, Mrs. Becknell. And she said, when you get to council, I want you to make an announcement to the public to tell them to drill holes in the bottom of these trash cans because when the wind blows and the lids open and they fill with water, then we have mosquitoes, and with the Zika virus that we have that's rampant over the world, she said tell everyone to drill holes in the bottom of the trash cans to let the water out. And to Ms. Becknell, when she told me to say this, I said, yes, ma'am. So there it is, Ms. Becknell. I have nothing that I want to pull. There's nothing else that I need to know. So I suppose that at this time, I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will.
Item A, B, D, and E, with the exception of C. Have I got a motion from you, John?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have a second from Elizabeth? Do I have any council discussion on this item? Do I have public comment on this item before we move forward? All in favor of accepting the consent agenda item with the exception of C, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Let's put a 6-0 on that one. Number C, on the consent agenda is consider authorizing staff to negotiate an agreement with Ronald R. Wagner and Company LP for seal coat services per request for sealed competitive proposal RFSCP ES 0116/2016 annual seal coat project in an amount not to exceed $3,600,000 and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement between the city of San Angelo and Ronald R. Wagner and Company LP. Russell Pale, you are on, sir. What are your questions, Elizabeth?
Well, first of all, I think anything we're doing significant with streets, the public wants to hear about a little bit more than on consent agenda, even though I know for you this is kind of standard business. I do think we want to know about location and just hear more about the project. Now, if I'm right, this is maintenance. This isn't part of.
Correct. This is just our annual maintenance program that we do on all of our city streets. You know, we have a 8-year program that we've developed, and this is just part of that 8-year program cycle that will be going through the entire city to get cities' streets seal coated.
And can you tell us any more specifically what streets you're looking at with these dollars?
I actually have a small presentation put together to show that. So maybe Anthony can help me get that going. Here we go.
Marty, you and Rodney also have questions. Is this answering yours, or do you do you have specifics? You want to go ahead and let Russell do it and then ask him the questions? Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
All right. This is section 1 of our seal coating that we're about to have done. On the left-hand side of the screen here is House Street. And then over here on the right-hand side is Central High School. And then we have Highway 67 that we're more or less working on the north and south side of Highway 67. There we go. That's section 1. Will be all these streets that are highlighted here. We'll be doing our annual seal coat on. This next section here is more on the east side of town. It's just south of the Houston Heart. We're basically working on either side of Bell Street. On the right-hand side of the screen, we have St. John's, and then on the left-hand side of the screen, you know, we have, goes all the way over to Main Street, basically. This area here is in our Capitol Heights subdivision. It's just on the west side of Foster Road. This area here is Foster Road. We're looking at the YMCA Drive, Utah, Wyoming, and then also the Trail subdivision is this area here. Finally, our section 4 that we'll be working on is in the Bentwood subdivision area. A lot of these streets here are pretty much the entire area, but Bentwood will be seal coated. With that, do you have any other questions?
I don't, thank you.
Marty?
We are requiring payment and performance bonds.
That's correct. We are requiring performance and payment bonds.
That's the only question I have.
Rodney?
In section 3, if you go back to that map, there's 3 streets in there, Chisholm, Rodeo, and Goodnight Trail. They're all fairly new streets. Why are we doing those at this time?
Like with any of our seal coat projects, we want to maintain the integrity of those streets before they get to a point that's, you know, not being or beyond maintenance, you know, maintenance levels of just seal coating. And we just want to maintain the integrity of those streets and the base that's underneath them.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is the surrounding streets are much, much older, and those streets are almost new. In fact, they almost don't need it, in my opinion. So it kind of seems like it's a waste of money to do that on those 3 streets.
I beg to differ. I mean, you know, they are newer streets, but they have been in there we're looking at about they've been in there about 7 years, and that's about the life cycle that we want to keep the seal coating continuing. So we want to be able to, you know, maintain those, keep them in the integrity that they're in now, and move forward with that. And 2, it's, you know, we're in the area. it's, economy of scale, we might as well do it while we're right there.
Well, one of the things that I would think about, and I live in an area that was seal coated this last round of seal coating that we had. My street basically is probably about 12 years old. And after they seal coated the street, it was way worse than before it was seal coated. And we don't have very much traffic, just like these streets. So all my neighbors are sitting there going, why did we do this? It just seemed like a waste of money. So I think in the future, it should be looked at a little bit more of how old streets are, not just by area, because maybe we could have picked up 3 more streets over on the east side of town or somewhere else instead of wasting it on here. It's just my opinion. I haven't talked to anybody else on the council, but to me, it seems like we should be putting it where it's needed. And I can understand economy to scale where you're knocking out every street in the area, but if the streets don't need it, I just truly believe they don't need it. And you don't have to answer that question. This is my opinion, but I think that as a council, you guys should be looking at that in the future. I'll be gone, but to me, that's a waste of money. And my street is much, much worse now than it was before this.
Mayor, I don't see it as a waste of money. I think that when you start looking at the streets that we're doing, part of the strategy is to make sure that we secure streets or take care of streets that could deteriorate worse, that later on will require a more expensive treatment. So this is part of the process, as Russell mentioned. 7 years is right on the money for doing some of this work, so I do agree that it needs to be done. It's not a waste of money, it's protecting those streets. And we do have an 8-year plan that we're going to follow very closely.
But plans are made to be looked at and tweaked as you go. Mm-hmm. And if that street was 2 years old and it was in that area, it sounds like to me you would have done it also. I mean, you're
not necessarily, no. No, it's right at that 7-8 year mark.
Well, let's go back to Clarice. Clarice is less than 4 years old, and you did it.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with. Okay.
Clarice is the next street over from the street I live on, and we did that street. So I'm sitting there saying,
well, that project last year, is a little different scenario. Your area was not originally on the plan to be done. We had a significant amount of extra material on that project, and it was already in the area, so we went ahead and seal coated those streets because we had the material available and we'd already paid for it, and we had the construction crews there and ready and available to do it, so we seal coated those streets.
I'm not going to get an answer that I'm going to be happy with, so I'll stop.
Lucy, did you have a question, ma'am?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to ask, when are y'all supposed to start this?
This project will most likely begin in September.
Do I have further questions from council on this? John?
Why so long? Why we always seem to take forever?
We're reliant on the contractor schedule, and that's when he'll be in the area. So we're having to work with him as best as we can to, yes, I would prefer to have it done sooner, but it's where we're at, and last year it worked out great. We had great temperatures and great application rates for that specific project, and that's.
I guess
we're just more or less at their mercy.
The hotter the temperature, the better, or what?
Not necessarily. You typically want your temperatures to be on average or of around 95. A little less than 100 degrees, just so that you don't have excessive bleeding. It gives the asphalt time to cure, and you get an overall better product.
So then September, would all 3 phases, or however many phases you have there, start at the same time? Or?
Yes, once they get started, they'll do all of these areas at one time.
And seal coat would be, am I thinking the gravel, or what does the public need to know?
Right, it's basically the gravel that gets added on an additional layer, and they come in with the tar, and then they go over that with gravel and roller compacted into the street.
Further questions from council? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Do have a motion to approve is presented. I do have a second. Do I have public comment on this item before we move on? Yes, sir. Come forward, please. to the microphone. State your name, and you've got 5 minutes, sir.
I'm Dennis Sonnenberg, and I live on this side of San Angelo, and I don't hear very good, but I did gather you're talking about the streets of San Angelo, and over on this side of town, we naturally got to have new shocks every year. And I drive back off over on the other side of town. We got some nice streets over there, and I'm going to estimate that the speed bumps that I have to go across, run anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do I have further comment on this item before we move forward? And the plan is, sir, is to do every street in San Angelo on an 8-year cycle. This will be the 3rd year. So we are working on every street in our city to seal coat and to gravel in an 8-year period. Then we'll start over again with another cycle. So we are working on all the streets. If there is no further comment or questions, then I will call for the vote. All in favor of accepting this as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Put a 6-0 on that one, please, Brian. Moving us to the regular agenda, the annual update, a discussion of the city's wellness program, presentation by Cheryl Pfluger, Marketing Director for the San Angelo Community Medical Center, and Janet Charlesworth and Mary Solomon, Wellness Coordinators. And Lisa Marty, are you going to get us started, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mayor, Council, City Manager. As you know, San Angelo Community Medical Center has operated our city clinic, and as part of that contract, they have also been in charge of our wellness program for the last 5 years. Each year they do present to you the status of our health and wellness of our city employees. And this morning we have Cheryl Pfluger, who is the marketing director for San Angelo Community Medical Center. And then we also have Mary Solomon and Janet Charlesworth, who are our wellness coordinators. So they have a presentation for you today, and I'm going to turn it over to Janet Charlesworth.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to showcase our
And you're
wellness
Janet?
program. I'm Janet Charlesworth.
We've got to keep that, we've got to get all the legalities here.
Sure. And I manage the city wellness program with Mary Solomon, as mentioned. Mary's a dietitian and diabetes educator. Myself, I'm a certified personal trainer, health educator, and we get our administrative support from Cheryl Pfluger, who is our marketing director at San Angelo Community Medical Center. And so I'm excited to showcase what we have been doing over the last year and for the past 5 years. This is one of the gals that serves on our wellness committee. We couldn't operate a successful wellness program without a city employee wellness committee. And there are approximately 12 employees that serve on the committee, and we meet once a month to discuss the wellness program and try to provide enhancements and improvements to the program. This is Rachel Wood. She works in permits, and this is her wearing her first place medal that she received from the first annual City Fit race that we sponsored and hosted back in October of last year. And it was, the race was put on to raise money for the Red Arroyo Trails, and it was to raise money for the quarter-mile markers so that folks, when they're walking the trails, would know how far they walked. And so we raised over $2,500 for the Red Arroyo Trails mile markers from this City Fit race that will be done annually now. The employees loved it. I will talk a little more about it in detail in a few minutes. This slide showcases, it's a comparison of how many risk factors a person may have and the excessive amount of healthcare costs that are associated with each number of risk factors. And when we talk about risk factors, we're talking about serious risk factors such as smoking, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, low HDL, obesity, high HDL, which is high bad cholesterol, low HDL, which is low good cholesterol, high triglycerides, and people that have obesity. So if you'll look here, if you just have one of those risk factors, the employee is going to have just a shade over 1,000 excessive medical care costs. These costs tend to increase, especially when you get over 5 or more risk factors. This slide shows you from 2011 to 2015 how many city employees had greater than 5 risks. And so if you look in 2011, you have 128 city employees that had 5 or more of these health risks. You can see that since we implemented the employee wellness program, we have lowered the amount of these risk factors now last year down to just 73 city employees with more than 5 risk factors. This is a huge improvement. We're probably really most proud of this slide because that's our goal, is from a wellness coordinator standpoint, is to try and make your employees healthier, raise health awareness, and motivate them to improve their health. So we're really proud of the progress we're making with this. This slide here shows that the components, the risks, and employees that have improved in these health components. So if you look at smoking, which is a high risk factor, causes many chronic diseases, you can see that in 2011 we had 100 smokers, and we've gradually lowered that number down now to just 65 smokers. When you look at what I was talking about in the previous slide, those employees that have 5 or more risk factors, when you put it in a percentage of your employees, you can see that back in 2011, you had 15% of your employees had 5 or more of these risk factors, and we have lowered that now down to 9.6% of your employees. When we started the employee wellness program back in 2011, we asked folks to complete a health risk assessment. So we had a baseline. This health risk assessment is a 60-question questionnaire that gives us a baseline data of how their health is ranked and scored. 74% of the city employees completed the health risk assessment in 2011. And this last year, we've had 99.9% of the city employees completed the assessment. This is a huge, huge improvement. I don't know if I wasn't here in 2011 when the program was implemented, but I did hear that employees had a lot of rumblings. They weren't really on board with the city wellness program and us taking their blood and sticking needles in their arms and encouraging them to get their flu shots, and they kind of kicked and screamed a little bit. I came on in 2012, and we've gradually seen employees embrace this program and realize that it's only we're trying to make their health better. And so they have embraced doing the health risk assessment. Not too much people, not too many employees kicking and screaming anymore. And this last category here, when you take the health risk assessment, it gives you a wellness score. It tells you how well you're doing with your personal wellness compared to everyone across the United States, and it gives you a score. And this score our goal is to make their score improve. And so you can see we've certainly done it. 2011 is blank because we didn't have anything to compare that with. We didn't do it the year before. So the first year shows in 2012, it compares how many employees improved their wellness score from 2011. This slide here shows employees who had improved biometrics. Of course, this is the reason why their employee wellness scores have improved. And so this is showing, comparing from 2014 to 2015. We had 50% of your employees lowered their systolic or diastolic blood pressure. 41% lowered their LDL cholesterol, which is their bad cholesterol. We had 39% lower their non-HDL cholesterol. We had 38% lower their total cholesterol, which we all know we want to try to keep that number below 200 or less. And then we had 34% increase their HDL cholesterol, which is their good cholesterol, and 37% lowered their triglyceride level. These are amazing numbers. This is what you want to see. However, there's work to be done. And these are the areas that we still have work to do. And these are your top clinical risks for our City of San Angelo employees. Obesity is number one. In 2014, it compares with the percent of people that have a BMI, which is a ratio of your height to waist ratio. So BMI 30 or more, which puts you in the obese category. We went up a little bit, and then it shows you what the national norm is. Overweight category, we went down a little bit. Again, we're above national norm because I think a lot of people in San Angelo still like their enchiladas and chicken fried steaks. And then you see waist circumference. It went up just a shade there. We're definitely above national norm there. We have a lot of diabetes in San Angelo. So we are definitely working with our employees. Mary stays extremely busy with our city employees that have diabetes. And then high blood pressure. We went down a little bit in that category. It definitely is a top risk when, especially you see 1 in 3 Americans has high blood pressure. And then metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is a cluster of risk factors. There's 5 things that can put you into metabolic syndrome. The first one is if you have a waist over 40, if you're a male, and if you're a female, you have a waist over 35 inches. Also, having high cholesterol, high blood pressure, if you have high blood sugar, these things, there's those 5 things will put you at risk. And those people who have 3 or more of those indicators, so if they have a high waist, if they have high blood sugars, and if they have high cholesterol, so there's 3 indicators right there, they have metabolic syndrome. Someone with metabolic syndrome is twice as likely to have heart attack, and they're 5 times as likely to develop type 2 diabetes. 1 in 3 Americans has metabolic syndrome, and 1 in 10 teenagers has metabolic syndrome due to the rising obesity epidemic. This shows you your top non-clinical health risk conditions. So on the health risk assessment, we ask employees to report to us their nutrition habits, their fitness habits, and their sleep habits. These are self-reporting issues. So we look at nutrition. If how many employees eat more than 5 or more cups of fruits and vegetables a day, this shows that you have only 76.8% of your employees that don't get 5 cups of servings of fruits and vegetables a day. National norm, 73%. Fitness, this shows how many employees have low physical activity. They only exercise 1 to 4 days a week, 58%. National norm is 61, so a little lower there. And then how many get inadequate sleep, 6 hours or less per day. 55% of your city employees feel that they get 6 hours or less sleep per day. We take these issues that employees let us know that they're struggling with, and we try to create wellness challenges and programs around those. We are currently in the middle of doing a 14-day sleep challenge with the city employees. Again, trying to address some of these issues that they present to us. This shows there's a question on the health risk assessment that says, what is your perception of the City of San Angelo's interest in creating a healthy workplace? And you'll see in 2011, there was a low amount that felt that this was excellent or high. And we've really increased that number. Since the employees now have embraced the employee wellness program, these numbers have significantly improved, and you can clearly see that a majority of your employees feel that the city has a strong interest in creating a healthy workplace. And this is important because when you can get your employees feeling like the city cares about them and they want them to be healthy, and that we are doing programming to make that. It just, success breeds success there. And it all starts from the top. And we've had wonderful support from Daniel. Just last week, he came and led an employee walk at City Hall steps for National Walking Day. We get much support from our Lisa Marley and from our City Employee Wellness Committee. And they really help us communicate our programs, our challenges, and the things that we're doing with the employees in a positive manner. These are just some of the programs we did in 2015. We try to do a challenge, sometimes 2 or 3 challenge. There's always 1, 2, or 3 fitness, nutrition, sleep, weight loss challenges going on every month that employees get the opportunity to participate in. And we've had wonderful turnout at all of these. This kind of shows you, again, what we've done. We feel like our most successful event we did this last year was the City Fit event. We had over 160 people come out on a Thursday evening and participate in either a 1 mile or a 5K walk run. The majority of the folks that came and did this were city employees. It brought a lot of camaraderie to among the employees at this event, and we didn't know how all the Saturdays were booked. We weren't able to get a walk-run event on a Saturday because there's a lot of those events that go on every weekend in San Angelo. So we had to do it on a Thursday night, not knowing what kind of turnout. It was predicted 100% rain that day. We still did the walk, and we had the Road Lizards said it was one of the largest turnouts of any event done for a 5K race. Even beat out what they do on Saturdays. So we were very proud of that. The employees loved the event and want to do it on an annual basis. And again, we would like to raise money at this event for something that benefits the city from a fitness health standpoint. Some of our highlights that we're proud of that we did in just this last year is we try to continually enhance the program. We had the employees can log onto the computer and record all of their fitness events, their challenges, and the things that they do because they earn points for doing wellness and health activities. If they earn 400 points, they get a wellness day off. If they earn 700 wellness wow points, they get 2 days off. This program has been wonderfully embraced. The employees love it. And they love earning those days off in addition to their regular time off. So one of the barriers were a lot of the city employees don't have access to a computer, or it was difficult for them to log on and record their points online. So what we did is we created a paper book for them, a log book. It's called a WOW log book, and they can log all of their activities in here. All of the ways that they can earn points towards a day off can be recorded in this book, and they love this book. And they've embraced it, and it's a great way for them to track all of the things that they're doing so they can earn points for their free day off. We expanded our WOW program. We did 20 wellness challenges and events throughout the year in 2015 versus 13 in 2014. And in 2016, we have 24 wellness challenges and events scheduled. We we created a wellness challenge survey. So after every event or challenge that we do, we send out the participants a survey asking them for their feedback and ways that we can improve or make it better for the next time. We use this feedback to enhance the program and make it and continually make improvements. And I talked to you about the City Fit event. We also submitted our wellness program to the American Heart Association, which awards wellness programs that show fantastic results. We were the winner of the Wellness Platinum Award from the American Heart Association last year. We recently, on April 1st, submitted another award to the American Heart Association for Program Innovation Award for creating this WOW program. We have not heard if we are a winner, and we hope soon we will hear that we were. We have added new members to our employee wellness program. We try to recruit employees that have a personal interest in health, fitness, and can help motivate their coworkers to get on board and becoming healthier. We were invited to present our Coastal Wellness Program at the Texas Municipal Human Resources Association Conference last year, and where was that at? Remember what city? Down by Austin. So we were excited to present our program there, and that was an honor. And we just want to thank you for the opportunity that you have given myself, Mary, all of us from San Angelo Community Medical Center to implement a wellness program for your employees. It's been a pleasure getting to know them and help them with their personal wellness. Do you have any questions?
Questions, council?
No, it's great to see the numbers heading in the right direction because it saves everyone money. It's good for the employees, and it's a cost savings ultimately for the taxpayer. So congratulations.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is this the presentation, Ms. Morley? Okay. It is 9:42. Let's take a short break. I got to get up and walk around a minute. Let's be back at 10 o'clock. Let's call this meeting back to order. Have been a few changes that I'd like to let everybody know about and get some approval from the council if possible. The item number F and item number G, both of these items have to do with the Tax Increment Reinvestment Board. Both of these items have been pulled. We will not discuss these items today. We're missing one council member that wants to be involved in this, and we're also missing some of the players in this. So we have made the decision to pull item F and item G. Mr. Pfluger, I apologize for wasting your morning. We'll waste your morning next meeting.
We will put those on the next agenda.
That will be on the next agenda. We want to deal with this while we have this council if we can. So we'll put this on the next agenda, but it has been pulled for today. Also, we have a man here that we're working with on item number I that needs to catch a plane out of here. So if the council will approve this, I would like to go ahead and deal with item B, and I would like to deal with item C, and then I would like to pull item I up next so that we can take care of this and accommodate the man that's got a schedule. Do you have a problem with that, Lucy?
No, sir.
Johnny? Marty?
No, sir.
Rodney?
No, sir.
Okay, then we will pull items F and G, and we will pull item number I, and we'll set it up after we deal with item number C. Next on the agenda is item B, which is an update on a portion of the bargaining with part associated with the Eggemeyer lease to create a historical agricultural museum now under a new nonprofit organization, the Farm and Ranch Museum, and discussion of terms for a new lease. Presentation by the Parks and Recreation Director Carl White and the San Angelo Museum of Fine Arts. You are on. Howard Taylor, we are on.
Yes, sir. At the last meeting, we promised to come back and give an update to council on this item. And at the last meeting, we talked about this back in June 2nd, 2015. We were given direction by consensus of council to work towards terminating the existing lease with Eric Eggemeyer for the property that's leased, Bart DeWick Park property, and tied in associated with the Agricultural Museum, and then work with a new nonprofit organization which is called the Farm and Ranch Museum of the Concho Valley. So under leadership of Howard Taylor, he is beginning to organize this as a new museum. He's going to come up and give a presentation about what he's done, but he's working on and getting this organization established as a 501c3. And once that organization is established, we're going to ask council to work with that organization to lease this property.
Morning. Hello, Howard.
Mr. Mayor, we have a few vignettes for you here.
Don't be using words like that around me.
Well, you'll be glad to know there's no montage, whatever that is. I'll tell you, I didn't really organize this. I'm part of a team, a wonderful team, but I think that something really vital, I think, for our community, its past and its future. There are a couple other folks here with me. I'd like to introduce them very quickly. I believe you all know them, but still. The wonderful artist, Arlo Ruiz, who also has, for a long time in his work, celebrated our agricultural traditions, and he and his family have a very rich and long heritage. And one of the things I want to reassure everybody in the community is that the Hispanic heritage, which is very powerful and very prevalent in our agricultural traditions, is going to be very much a part of this organization as we go forward. Another fellow here, John Hempel, attorney, community activist, and budding artist and photographer. And I think he'll chirp in on the lease issue, but he's our attorney and has worked with us to get us incorporated. We're in the process of getting our 501c3. That's the federal designation, but we do have the state designation. And then we have a hired hand here. We don't pay him much, and we kind of point, and he does a lot of stuff and does it really well, but Eric Agemeyer. And as you probably know, Eric and his family initiated this process, and through their family, they've invested very substantial money, over $200,000 that is documented in creating that space. But now we are evolving into a nonprofit corporation. We will separate the assets of the privately owned from publicly owned, but we're beginning to contribute materials and other things, and as we go forward, we intend to raise some money to do the things that we need to do. I think there's a button here I pushed somewhere, Carl,
Just right quick, I'm sorry, I should have reminded folks about where this property is. This is Oak Street here, Concho is up here. The yellow line shows where the property line is. So all the property that's encompassed here is under the existing lease. This is part of Bart DeWitt Park. And this is the old Vogel blacksmith shop. And if you've seen it, there's lots of different equipment outside in the yard. So this is the property that we're talking about, all this here.
That's an old picture.
A little bit old, yes.
It does look a little better than that now. Next one, please. Thank you. Yeah, I just won't read all this to you, but I think the essential thing that we're driving at, there are a number of agricultural museums throughout Texas and throughout the United States. Ours is going to be different. And the difference is that we're going to focus on our regional heritage. It's a national and international heritage. We're going to go all the way back to the earliest peoples of this region, the Native Americans, because they were a part of that as well. But one of the things that we're going to do is run up the flag on a fact, which is we're one of the great agricultural centers of the world. I don't think we've really recognized that in this community. We all, in one way or another, have some ties or relationship. It's hard to be a part of this community and not have some sense of the land and the people of that land. So that's a big part of it. And next. Okay, and you can see that we're going to begin with the Native American hunter-gatherers, but one of the really amazing things to me is, I know this isn't exactly true, but you can get in your John Deere and take a nap while you push a button and the GPS directs your traffic and plants one seed at a time that costs a lot of money each seed, but the world has changed tremendously. But the one thing that hasn't changed is that we need to really respect nature and the land, and so we're also going to be very dedicated to conservation. And I'm sure you're all glad to hear that because I think that's always on your agenda. Next, please. It's going to be a very active place. We will have exhibits, certainly, and demonstrations and interactive workshops, and bring in people in the agricultural business who are really there on the front lines to meet with the public. Next, please. We have established our board. Bylaws have been written. They're very good bylaws. They're, I think, drafted at the highest level and highest standards for museums and nonprofits. The board has met 3 times now, and it's a very active board. Next, please. Okay, and this is the folks, the founding board is made up of 7 individuals. We have incorporated the bylaws in a way that we would have between 7 and 9, always in odd numbers so we don't get deadlocked like the Supreme Court, you know, the issues they're having now. And the folks that are there, Dara Anderson is with ASU. She has a degree in agriculture. She's an agricultural scientist. Bobby Eggemeyer, of course, this originated through the family, but we only have one family member is on the board. Will Harnett, many of you may know Will. He teaches in Wall, and he is going to involve his kids in some of the restoration process. So it'll be a living learning situation where they'll be restoring the agricultural machinery, but also learning the heritage and how it operates. John Hempel, we've already introduced. Raul Ruel. Doran Reynolds, I think many of you know Doran, who sells farm equipment, and then Daniel Wilde. And this is very important because it's also a partnership, not just with the Art Museum, but the Barrows Museum, which many, many people have never visited, and it's out there near Eola. And that's going to become a living part of this as well, and they are going to lend and bring in some of the restored equipment. Most of the things that are there on site are rusted and need a lot of work. But they have some beautiful things, and in order to accomplish that, you'll see in a moment, one of the things that we do need to do is create a structure. It would not be an enclosed structure, but it would be a covered structure large enough to protect those vehicles that we'd bring in. Next, please. Just a quick snapshot of some of the folks that were there at the first meeting. One fellow, Mr. Meza, had to drop out, but he's going to stay on the advisory board and be active with us. That young lady there is actually my educator, one of the most dynamic human beings you'll ever meet, but she's already developed some programs there. And I don't take too many pictures with me in them where I'm kind of a shrimp, but good Lord, look at some of those guys. I'll tell you what, farm fed, you know. Next slide, thank you. So on the advisory group is our educator, Eric Eggemeyer, Jerry Lackey, Susan Mertz, Pierce Miller, I think you know most of these folks, Vince Meza, and Carl White, and we're delighted to have Carl there. Anyhow, we haven't really yet decided when we want to do the big public announcement and have some fanfare and have a big party at the site, but we're looking at either sometime in the summer or in the early fall. And that would be, we're also going to be up and operating with programs, but want to have a lot of celebration when we really inaugurate this thing. Next, please. And this is a picture of just our first program. And the other thing that's really important to understand is that this really is a collaborative effort. Here at Angelo State University and their animal science program brought in some sheep. I'll probably learn the difference between a goat and sheep thanks to this museum, but and we had about 25 kids in our one of our programs, spring break programs, and they came and they drew the animals, they talked to the scientists, they talked to the Eggemeyers and other folks that were there. We're going to do this on a monthly basis with our Family Day program and really engage. And then also the museum has brought in certain materials and, you know, like portable benches and things that we can use for the kids. Next, please. A very handsome sign is being fabricated. It won't look quite like this when it's done, but it's being powder coated now, and it'll go over the entranceway. It will be quite attractive. Next, please. Also, there are a lot of things that you don't see at this site, but you can see those massive blocks and building the ramp at the back of the site that will allow easy access for bringing things in and out without going through the main street. Next, please. And again, pictures of some of the folks from ASU working with our kids. And in the background, I don't know if you noticed earlier, several tons of crushed granite have been brought in and compacted to make the site more accessible. And then also a very substantial porch, metal covered porch, 80 feet in length and about 18 feet in depth, that allows all kinds of exhibitions and programs to occur even in, I don't want to call it inclement weather, but wonderful weather when it rains. And next, please. Anyhow, the lease, and I will ask our attorney in a moment here to discuss that. The proposed terms initiated by the city are 20 years, option to renew in 10. I think we're going to request a longer extension, or not extension, but rather initial lease. We'll ask our attorney to explain the rationale for that. Next, please. Was that? Oh, okay. Time enough, I think. Just a couple other things I wanted to mention. A lot of things are happening at the site. Were it not for rain, we would have been able to move a lot of things. We're repositioning things, moving that stone fence to the back, creating greater visibility. The building, the old chipping, flaking paint has been removed, and all the trim has been painted. New windows are going to be ordered. And one of the most wonderful things about this site is a historic blacksmith shop. It started out in the 1890s, was destroyed in the flood, rebuilt, but a lot of the original machinery remained there and equipment, and a lot of that is now up and running. And one of the unique things is that most of the brands in this region were actually fabricated in that shop, and when you go on the inside, the woodwork has all the brands, because as they made them, they would test them. And so there's just a lot of richness there that I think is going to be very exciting. And now, if I may, I'd like to call on John Hempel to discuss the lease. If I may, Mayor?
Yes,
Thank
sir. Welcome, Mr. Hempel.
Council members, I'm very happy to be here. I would like to say I think this museum is going to resonate for a lot of people. The reason I'm a lawyer was a lawyer is that my father went through the drought in the 50s, and my mother pounded into our heads, you are going to learn how to do something besides being a rancher. Because I go back 4 generations on my father's side and 5 generations on my mother's side in the ranching business. One of my earliest memories is when I was about 3 coming out. This was in early 1950, the year before the drought hit, watching my father and his partner as the sheep were sheared. And it was really something. And there's a lot of people who live in this area who I really think, have those kinds of memories that I think this will resonate with. I mean, even though it may not be as much in our face and as visible now, I think it's something that will really resonate. As Howard mentioned, we have the nonprofit, Texas Nonprofit Corporation, formed, approved by the Secretary of State. We have our certification of existence and good standing. We'll need to complete the 501c3 application in order to become A, tax exempt, and B, all contributions will be tax deductible under Section 170 of the Internal Revenue Service Code. That's a very large thing because we need to raise money. Could I approach with a couple of exhibits?
You give those to Brian, he can get them.
All right. Yes, sir. What I've just given for the council to view is sort of a layout for the park and a large structure that we are going to build from contributions. There are several organizations, foundations, private foundations that Howard has already located who have some interest in funding us once we get our tax exempt status. But we're looking at making some substantial investments in improvements. And it would be easier to raise funds for improvements if those we could tell our prospective donors that those improvements will be in place for sure for longer than 20 years. And one idea that I've thought of is, I know the city, this is valuable, important property to the city, and perhaps if we work up a longer term lease, we might put benchmarks, required accomplishments over the course of the lease. Certain things must be completed at certain times. That way the city is protected from somebody just tying up their land for a long time. And instead, we're confident that once we get the 501c3 exemption, that we can raise the money. But having a longer term than 20 years, something like 50 years, that's what you've just seen is a replica of an old-fashioned barn, and the sides will be open all the way around, but that will protect some of our best items. Like we have an old wooden thrasher that's driven by leather straps on wheels. We'll have a very old set of sheep shearing. The engine and all of the cutters, they're all connected. It's all one item. There are very few things like that even in existence now, and we will be the Barrows Museum, which is a treasure trove out in the middle of nowhere, does have some requirements, will have some requirements. We've already talked to them about keeping their rare items intact. And so we do feel like we need to build a substantial structure out there, and we don't want a free ride, but we'd like to ask the city to consider a longer-term lease, and with the thought that we could work out benchmarks and time to achieve those benchmarks, so that if something happened to the museum and it went south, the city's land's not tied up for no good reason at all. So anyway, that's why I'm here, and we hope for a very good, long relationship with the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Temple. Any questions? Council, any questions for Ms. Temple? Thank you, sir. Eric, do you have something to say?
I told him I'd poke him if we.
Good morning. When I started this out.
Let's start it off with Eric Egemeyer.
Eric Egemeyer. When I started this out, my intention was to have something really nice for the community. I wanted to have something that family and kids could come and look at, experience, things that on a farm you would normally see every day, but not in town. And by Howard helping and joining and getting this board together, it's going to give us more opportunity to do things that not just me by myself was trying to do, with a million other things that I'm trying to do. So it absolutely helps us obtain a goal. It helps us pursue that goal, and it gives us a ways to do that. And after this last meeting where Howard's assistant Becca had the kids down there with the sheep, it was just really incredible, because all the kids were there. They were drawing pictures of the sheep. They were touching them. There were lambs. And if we can have more events like that to bring more people in downtown, I think it'll be a win-win for everyone. So I appreciate y'all's time and effort to help us do this as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Raul, do you have any words of wisdom? Well, he's gone, isn't he? I guess he has no words of wisdom for us.
Raul has made a beautiful sculpture of a ram, and that's going to go in place there too. He's
very talented individual.
And I cannot understate, the Egemeyers and Eric are incredibly talented people that have done amazing things at the site, and we're fortunate to have them in the community. And I guess I'll just wrap up by saying our request is to, when we negotiate for this lease, to look at longer term. I think that would be very helpful. It is difficult to raise money if you have a short-term lease. I think, Mr. Mayor, we did a trip out to the Barrows. We're going to do it again, invite all members of City Council, and hope that you can all be there to help us celebrate when we do the grand opening on this. And we are about to make a trip probably in June up to Lubbock, where they have 3 very significant, but ours is going to be better, Windmill Museum, Farm Museum, and Ranching Heritage Center. And I think ours really will be better in a lot of ways because of the unique partnership that we're working on. Thank you all for your time and attention to this, and I think you're going to really be pleased with what happens.
Thank you, Howard. This is just an update. Are there any questions from council, or is there any
Mayor-
admonition?
Mayor, I
Johnny?
don't have any questions, but I just wanted also applaud both Howard Taylor and Carl and Eric for partnering up with what Eric was trying to do on his own, and that was a monstrosity that he was trying to accomplish. But kudos to you guys. I think this is a step in the right direction. I know that it's an update, but I say move forward on trying to make some kind of negotiation, make this happen.
All right.
And, I
We're,
think
try-
it'll
we're trying to get
benefit.
confirmation if we're headed the right direction.
Yes.
Yes.
You have
And
my
whatever the lease is, if it's 30-year lease with 10-year, 3 options, that would be whatever you want. But yeah, I think we need to work with them. So see what y'all can figure out and negotiate. Any other questions or comments?
I just wish it would have brought some updated photos and not the old photo that's there, but that's all right.
Yes, sir.
Drive by there and look at it, and I think, you've done a lot and improved quite a bit, so it's looking good, looking very good.
And that Barrows Museum is a treasure for this area, and just like you say, nobody knows it's there. That's a wonderful museum, and it would be just east of Eola.
Ask a question. If somebody wanted to donate to the 501c3, how would they do that? In the microphone.
Sorry. I think currently one way we could accomplish that is we can set up a holding account at the Art Museum. It's not uncommon for existing 501c3s to act as an interim agency until they are incorporated. And in fact, I'm going to knock on a few doors pretty quick here because we'd like to get the slab and the structure built. And of course, we'll have to go through all the usual approvals and so forth with the city before we build that, but we're planning on that. And so contributions can be taken now. And also the museum has an account through our cultural district, and we're going to transfer some funds to an account we're establishing for this organization. So if anyone has their checkbook handy, we're here and we're handy, so we'll talk to you. Was that an offer, by the way? I'm just curious.
Absolutely.
Thank you. See what I do every day
Howard,
for a living.
Howard, so you promised us this is going to look better than the Barrows Museum?
Well, I'll tell you, it's going to look better than any other agricultural museum in America, and the Barrows will too.
We have it on record, okay?
And one of these days, we'll tell you the story of how the Barrows will fit into this, because I think it's very related. I'll just mention this. If you go to the Ranching Heritage Center in Lubbock, which is wonderful, I mean, it's magnificent. You're in the heart of a city. When you go to the Barrows, you're out there. It's real. And so that's going to play a big part in what we try to accomplish.
Just 2 things. First, back on the 501c3 issue, it can take anywhere from 3 to 9 months, depending on who your examiner is, who gets your application. It's grown from 6 pages the first time I did one to 26 pages now, but we will expedite that. And secondly, we're not really as grandiose as we may sound, because back in the 60s, this was the wool capital of the world. And I worked in the largest wool warehouse in the wool capital of the world. So,
Thank you very much. This was a good update. Is there anything else, Carl?
No, sir.
Any questions from council? Public comment on this item before we move on? Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate you. Number C, which is we're going to C and then I. Number C is consider adopting a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with the Bureau of Reclamation and Texas Parks and Wildlife Department for the creation and management of public hunting lands at the Twin Buttes Reservoir. Carl White.
Yes, sir. So this is an action item. We're asking council to adopt a resolution that would authorize approval of this MOU. And the primary purpose for this is to include the recreational lands of the Twin Buttes Reservoir, which are federal lands that we manage under lease, into TPWD's, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department's Public Lands Hunting Program. This will provide for increased law enforcement, promote recreation, hunting, and fishing opportunities, and TPWD will help identify opportunities to provide habitat enhancement and improvement. At the last time we talked about this with council, it was a consensus of council to move forward with this MOU. And since that time, staff has been working with TPWD and the Bureau to negotiate this MOU. Under this arrangement, TPWD will administer the program. As was presented last time, this program includes almost 900,000 acres throughout Texas, and TPWD will work with the lands to improve the habitat and improve the game opportunities and hunting opportunities out there. Under this program, there are 2 permits. One permit is a $12 individual permit. These permits you can purchase anywhere you can buy a hunting and fishing license, such as a sporting goods store or Walmart. One permit is $12 for an individual. It will provide for all access and use, authorized use, except for hunting. And then the $48 permit allows for all access and authorized use, including hunting. These permit fees will be collected by TPWD and used to help administer the program. A reminder of what existing lands are under our existing map. All these areas marked, there's 7 different areas here around both the north and south pools. A look at what the new map would be under the program. The areas are larger to incorporate the lands that become available as the reservoir gets smaller. And of course, as it gets larger, there's less land available. But this area here would be strictly for recreational use, not hunting, but the remainder of the areas would be available for hunting. Just a reminder of some of the activities that are going on out there. Dumping, damage to city property and the gates, unauthorized access when we secure the gates for different reasons. And the main reason we secure the gates now are for after rain events when the roads are really wet. Again, damage to city property. Just the constant use of firearms of different kinds that currently aren't authorized. More dumping. And I want to bring up Jason Hubner with the game wardens with TPWD to talk about this. He was here at the last presentation.
Welcome, sir. I'm not going to review everything. How do you get this work this thing? Okay, I'm not going to review everything that we covered the last time. Not a whole lot has changed. One thing I do want to address with the council, though, is we've run into a kind of a hitch with the ATV use out there. I think I mentioned this the last time, but we're out of compliance, basically, with some federal laws. They're executive orders. They are also some Bureau of Reclamation lands orders saying that in order for ATV use or off-road vehicle use to be allowed out there, it has to be approved through a designated plan. It has to go through a NEPA process, which is a National Environmental Protection Act review. It's a long process, one that I'm willing to take to allow it out there. But initially, I'm going to have to, we're going to have to shut it down for ATVs. In other words, vehicles that aren't registered for regular highway use. That's initially going to have to take place until we can get into compliance. Now, one of the avenues we are trying to seek right now is maybe getting congressional authority to allow us the continued historic use of ATVs out there while we show due diligence that we're working on an acceptable plan. I think that's a long shot. I believe Councilwoman Farmer is in Washington right now, and she's going to try to pitch that, and she may have some better luck with it. We visited Lake Meredith National Recreation Area, which is to our north up in Amarillo. They have much of the same thing. They were allowed to continue their use of ATVs, but they had congressional authority to do so. Right now, at this time, we don't. So that is one thing I want to be upfront with on this that we're going to have to enforce. until we can get into compliance with it. But we are willing to take those steps. And part of that is, as you may be aware, that much of Twin Buttes is a archaeological site, and those sites have to be cleared. I would venture to say that you know, some of them will be insignificant, but again, that has to be cleared. There are few officers that are state historic conservation officers that can clear it, and they're backlogged. So that process takes a little bit of time. There has to be public hearings on this as well. So, but those are all steps that we're willing to take to do that. But I did want to be upfront about that with you in the beginning here.
Question. I have a question.
Yeah, sure. Go
So
ahead.
how long have we allowed that to happen out there?
Well, probably since the first ATV was
Invented?
brought in about 1973, I would imagine. Now, I haven't been in San Angelo that long, obviously, but it's just always been allowed. What happened was, is my understanding, is that the federal government was sued by an environmental group for not managing the lands with ATV ORV use. They lost. The federal government lost that suit, and so hence you have these that rules have come into play, and so you have to manage it for it. You have to watch for erosion control, all things of that nature. You know, archaeological sites. So that's why we need to get into compliance with it. And I think the Bureau has expressed that they want us to be in compliance with it.
So those folks going out there on ATVs, do they just run rampant, or there's
Yeah,
courses
right
out
now
there?
they can pretty much go anywhere they want. Yeah. And I'm not opposed to having designated. You know, my own kids were mad at me if we shut it down, because we have an ATV and they like to ride it. But regardless, we got to be within the law. And it's not our rules, it's not the city's rules. I wouldn't even venture to say the Bureau of Reclamation. I mean, this was imposed on them, so it's just something that we have to color within the lines that we're told to.
Johnny, to add to that, that's something, regardless of this agreement, it's something the city needs to do regardless. And so this is a burden that, in my opinion, they're willing to take on and run those traps for us versus us trying to implement that. So it's something we need to do regardless.
So if you shut it down, where do they go? Or?
Well, that's a good, there's some, you know, some other areas, Lake Meredith has some approved areas up there where they can do it. Up
In Amarillo.
Amarillo, along the Red River. It's not a comfortable situation to be in. It's not news that I like delivering to anybody. But it's a fact, and it's, you know, we're charged to be within the law, and I can't ask my game wardens or other law enforcement officers to look one way on this law and not on others. It's not a good position to be in.
Might be an opportunity for a private landowner to do something.
Sure. And again, I'm still working avenues or trying to see if we can get the authority, if we're showing that due diligence that we're working towards an acceptable plan. I'm going to reiterate that. I think it's a long shot, but I'm not giving up on it.
The reason I'm asking is because
Sure.
my son was in the process of bringing down his ATVs for us to. I have never done it.
Right.
But I'm glad you're bringing it to the forefront, because if you're going to shut it down, then there's no reason for him to even bring them down. So.
Meet him in Amarillo.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's pure conjecture on my part to tell you how long this process will take. Don't expect immediate gratification on it. My guess, working through the federal government and all these processes, is going to take a while.
So we got plenty of time.
Yeah, yeah. So, but on that note, we will work towards allowing it. It's been done in the past. There's national forests, obviously all over Colorado, New Mexico, where this type of activities they're allowed. So we can do it. We can get there. We just have to take the steps to do it.
Does that include dirt bikes?
Yes, that would include dirt bikes. Yeah, unless if they're registered to be on the highway, then they would be able to be out there. But we've got to go through the process of designating certain roads out there. Those got to get cleared. Make sure they're not a significant archaeological site going through there. So there's quite a bit of work to be done. I've already laid out some GPS marks on ideas, what we'd want to have as designated roads. I spoke with a gentleman named Cody Blair. He's a new president of the Misfit Jeepers, which don't get the name wrong here, but he seems like a really good guy, willing to help out. But they want to have some input into the plan, and we've got to have a public hearing, so I want other people's input, where they would like to do these activities. And we're going to have to balance all these different user groups out there for public safety, and so it's going to take some legwork, but we're willing to do that. But I did want to be upfront about that with you.
So I have to ask: is there an archaeological group here that would file a lawsuit?
We have one on staff. We have a state. We have his last name's Thompson. I'm forgetting the first name right now, but I believe he clears some of these archaeological sites. Haven't been able to get if you can believe it, been able to be in touch with him yet. I just found his name out the other day. So we're gonna work with him. He's got a lot more knowledge in working through this process than I do. So he's my next resource from here.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm ready to make a motion on the public hunting issue, if y'all are.
I'm ready to accept.
I would be happy to make a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
Second.
I'll take Rodney. I heard you first. We do have a motion to accept this as presented. I do have a second. I'd rather do this than lose the right to use that at all, and it does not belong to us. I mean,
Right.
We are doing what the federal government tells us
Well,
to do.
and let me just, our idea is not to lock this down and to make it hard for people to use. I want to keep the openness of Twin Buttes out there for the public. Yes, there's going to be some fees and permits got to be used out there or to use the property, but I do want to keep it open. I want it to have that open feel to it. It's the people's land essentially, we just need to be. I think we need to work towards a little bit better stewardship. And Parks and Wildlife has already begun. We've already flown with our helicopter. We've already flown the property, done a census count. We've looked at some areas for some habitat improvement, maybe where some soil can be broken up. And we've also looked at some grants to do certain things out there. So we are taking steps to show people that they're getting something for their money.
I think your presence there in this program will really help develop the amenity that we have that has just been somewhat abused just because of the lack of personnel out there on a regular basis. So I think this is a win-win for everyone.
I appreciate your time.
And it has become dangerous out there in place too with
Yes.
some nefarious activities.
Whoa.
Don't ask him to spell it.
I think next time he goes out on a helicopter, he needs to take the mayor with him.
You might be able to work something in there.
He does love
Okay, I do have a motion to approve as presented. I do have a second. Do I have further comments from council on this item? I will call for public comment. I know that not everyone is in favor of this, but I will take public comment on this item. Form a line to the front. Y'all each state your name. You got 5 minutes.
Lloyd Davidson, again. I agree there's a lot of problems there, but I also know, and I think everybody else does, that people are overregulated. So we're going to need to keep all the regulations to a minimum. And the cost too, I have so many questions regarding if I have a hunting license, do I still have to pay it? Do I still have to get a hunting license if I pay it? Are we stacking fees on top of fees? Do you get to hunt? Do you get to fish for free like you do in a state park? If you pay the $48, can you go to other state parks and not have to pay? There's lots of questions. And also, will the Parks and Wildlife Department be in charge of picking up trash? Will they maintain the roads? Will they maintain the park facilities? I have so many questions that it would take an hour to resolve them, and maybe there's somebody I can talk to get the answers. And I don't know. I just hate to see us lose something that we've always had and get too strict in my opinion, the park we have now they have so many regulations. We need to back off and make sure this doesn't become another state park. I don't have any objections to improving what we have, but I think we need to go into it carefully and get answers on everything first. Thank you.
I agree with you, and I think you're right. And Carl, can you answer this man's questions?
I can answer a lot of his questions. It would take some time, but I'm certainly happy to sit down with him after this.
The $12, that's anything, that's any park anywhere.
Yes, okay, so the $12 limited use permit, okay, that's, you can use all the land for fishing, that would include fishing. The only thing it would not include is the hunting. If you want to hunt out there.
Use the mic, Anthony says.
Okay, if you want to hunt out there, you would need your regular hunting license that you get, and then in addition to that, you need the $48 public hunting lands program. But that opens you up to Twin Buttes, and it opens you up to now San Angelo State Park, where they allow the hunting out there. It opens it up to over 900,000 acres statewide that you would have access to if you so chose to go do that. So you get a little bit more for your buck in that regard, but yes, you would have to have the $48 permit to hunt out there in addition to your hunting license. So, and I can sit down and answer a lot of the other questions that he had. It'll take some time.
And you will make yourself available to
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have a business card on you?
I do.
You can hand him one, or Carl, or.
And as far as the maintenance, it would be on the city to maintain the roads and the property.
Yeah, we're kind of co-managing this with everybody. We've all got a vested interest in it out there, and so it would be kind of co-managed by both the city, Parks and Wildlife, and the Bureau of Reclamation. So, but yeah, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Not a perfect situation.
No, it's not, and I'll tell you, I'm a public land hunter in Colorado. I do it every year. It's important to me. I do not, and I agree with you, that sometimes my department tends to lock something down pretty tight and makes it, it can at times make it maybe a little more difficult to gain access to. And that's not my idea here. The idea is that we keep the openness of Twin Buttes.
Thank you, sir.
Who's Mick?
Yes, sir.
I'm Dennis Sonnenberg, and the gentleman here said something about had plenty of time. Well, we don't have time. All of us are limited on time. We had the youth of our community in here earlier. Great to see them. We don't want to take away from the youth of our community, and then from there to where I am, we got a large gap of people. A lot of people go out there. You commented on it out there. Do you ever go out there and enjoy that facility? I go regularly. And when I read the article in the paper of being abused, yes, I believe the trash is abusive, but a lot of people believe that I'm abusive. I've got a Volkswagen, and I drive like a crazy man out there. And I don't want to lose that. That is exciting. I would like to pass that on to the youth of the community. I'd like for us to have an off-road race, Texas Desert Racing, and give the youth of our community an opportunity to see that there's more than just sitting and watching things happen on a television, that they can be a part of things. And when I go out there, I see families, a man, his wife, and his children. Sometimes they're shooting a pistol. The family's enjoying it, got the dog along. I've run into problems out there. The family stops. Kids, man, they're impressed with my toy. And I can't believe that we would, in other words, do anything other than fight to save everything we can that people like me and like the youth of our community, any of y'all, can enjoy. Yes, we've got to get along with one another. In other words, we have points of conflict. What suits me doesn't suit somebody else. But for how many years somebody brought up, this has been going on, RT, or recreational vehicles, been since '73, probably before, way before that. And we haven't had no problem. Everything has gone good. Lots of people have enjoyed it. Lots more could if we would invite them and tell them. And yes, we do have problems, but I believe if we'll work hard, which ain't nothing easy, we can achieve them.
Thank you, sir. Further public comment? I agree with what you say, but the bottom line, this property does not belong to the city of San Angelo. And if the Bureau wants to pull it, they can pull it.
Okey doke.
We're trying to do it the right way. We're trying to do it the right way so that it is legal.
But we should never surrender trying.
I agree.
We should try.
You're preaching to the choir, brother. I agree with you.
I'll tear up my toy, and I'll bring it back, and I'll fix it. And there again, that's what I want our youth to do. I want them to know that you can go out and enjoy America. America belongs to the world, but we have the opportunity to enjoy it. If we don't enjoy it, it is of no value to the world.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, I might point out that I think the staff, as well as the Parks and Wildlife staff, is committed to making sure this process continues. I think the only thing that may temporarily close is the ATV component of it. The rest of it will remain open for use. The public will not be affected. So the ATV component is the point that they'll be committed to working on. And actually, at the end of the day, if we get it designated as it should be, you are going to open up for additional people to come in because it'll be recognized as a location. So I think that is our goal, as well as this gentleman is stating.
And what we're talking about right now, though, you will add additional people, and Dennis Sonnenberg will have to stay home.
Do I have further public comment on this item? Motion has been made that we approve as presented. It's not a perfect situation. We know it's not, but we're going to work to make it as serviceable as we can. If there's no further public comment, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Put a 6-0 on it, Brian. We will now pull forward number I, which is the first reading and a public hearing for case Z1602, an ordinance approving a request from Brian Berger to authorize the rezoning from the light manufacturing ML zoning district to the general commercial CG zoning district on 1.30 acres, generally located at the corner of Knickerbocker Road and South Jackson Street. Presentation by our Planning and Development Services Director, Mr. John James. You have the mic, sir.
Thank you. John James, Director of Planning and Development Services. This is a 1.3 acre tract located at the corner of Knickerbocker and Jackson. You can see it there identified on the map. Future land use of the area in the adopted plan is for commercial. However, it's currently zoned light manufacturing. That's similar to a lot of the properties in this area. While the trend is going commercial for the development, a lot of that area is currently zoned light manufacturing. We've seen some rezonings, and you'll probably see more as that commercial trend continues. Again, here's the future land use map showing commercial. You can see the campus institutional off there to the northwest. Just another map. This is the zoning map. It shows some of that other lot manufacturing in the area. Again, some of that lot manufacturing that's currently zoned lot manufacturing is actually used as commercial. This is the site as it currently exists. There is a bank that is a vacant bank building on the site that is proposed to be demolished to make way for new commercial development. You can see some of the surrounding area, again, a hotel, a couple of other restaurants in the area currently. So this is consistent with the surrounding area, this rezoning to commercial. The rationale, it is compatible with our existing plans and policies and consistent with the zoning ordinance. Again, as I already mentioned, it is compatible with the surrounding area that is largely commercial uses already, as well as being at the intersection of two arterial streets. So it does make sense for a fast food, high traffic type of facility. We see no negative impact on the natural environment. There is a community need for that type of business. And again, the development patterns in the area are largely commercial. So staff does recommend approval. The Planning Zoning Commission also recommended approval of the rezoning by a 7-0 vote. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I don't think we'll ever see light manufacturing in that part of the city again. It's all commercial. Elizabeth, this is in your area. Do you want to take the lead on this one, ma'am?
Sure. Well, I think that we have light manufacturing back toward the tracks on, is that industrial back there?
That's right. There is some industrial in that
But
zoning.
on Knickerbocker, certainly with ASU across the street, this is prime property for general commercial. I'm excited to think what might be coming there. I've heard rumors. The only issue I might have is, can Jackson really handle what may be coming its way? But from the perspective of the rezoning, I think this is perfectly in keeping with what's going on in the city, and I'm very excited about it.
And in response to the issue of Jackson, part of the plat was actually approved at the Planning Commission yesterday. One of the requirements of that was for this applicant to participate in an additional lane on Jackson to help accommodate traffic in the area.
And I think when we finally see this finished out, we'll all understand why. But it's, yeah, I'm very excited about this. I think the community will be as well.
Are you going to move for approval?
I will move to approve, Mayor.
I have a question, comment.
I'll second that.
Okay, John?
John, can you go back to that picture of the property itself?
That one?
Yes, I'm with Elizabeth. I'm in total favor of this. I just hope that they don't get rid of those trees. That would be my one concern, is that they get rid of those. But, again, I'm just.
Rodney already has them gone.
They almost have to be with the business that's going in there.
Trees are gone, John.
And the applicant's here and can probably
Then
address
I'm
that.
going to vote against it if they're going to get rid of the trees.
Go take a picture of them.
Go stand next to the tree, well, I just thought I'd throw that in. But I like what I think I've heard is coming, so.
I'm sure Mr. Silvis wants to support a landscape ordinance at a later date, but not as a part of this motion.
Right, there you go.
Further questions?
Well, I only have one comment. I won't say what it is, and I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but my daughter is so happy. This is her favorite place. So I'm definitely in favor of it. I think it'll be a good addition to that corner. That bank's been empty, I know, for 5 years, maybe even more than that.
Longer than that.
So it'll be a good addition to that corner, I believe.
Do I have public comment on this item? Good morning, sir. Please identify, and you have the floor.
My name is Brian Berger. I'm with Berger Engineering, 17103 Preston Road, Dallas, Texas. I don't have anything to add to Mr. James's report. Just wanted to say thank you for being willing to adjust your agenda to meet my schedule this afternoon.
Quite welcome. Thank you, sir. Dan, do you have any further public comment on this item? Motion has been made that we accept as presented. It has been seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Let's put a 6-0 on that one. Thank you, Mr. Berger. Let's go back now to D. D is the second public hearing and consideration of ordinances amending Appendix A, fee schedule of the Code of Ordinances, creating Article A14000, facility use fees, Section A14001, airport conference room, deleting and replacing Article A11.000, fire and rescue service fees, deleting and replacing Article A12.000, fire safety inspection fees, amending Article A9.000, planning-related fees, and deleting and replacing Article A2.000, building and construction-related fees. Presentation by Morgan Chegwooden. You have the floor, ma'am.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. This is the second reading, but we went ahead and put it on regular agenda since there have been so many changes. We just wanted to point out that the items that you just listed have been brought to cost of service as directed by the council last meeting. So the airport conference room is proposed at the $16, which is a change from last meeting to fall in line with cost of service. Same thing for all of the fire fees. They are also proposed at cost of service. Fire prevention, same thing. No other changes before you today, planning and permits as well. As discussed last meeting, we did ask that if we were going to go to the application for design review to cost of service, that we would do the same thing for the DHRC reviews, and the council, of course, directed staff to do so. So that is an additional change in the ordinance before you today, and that's just in line with making sure that those did not become too dissimilar. So we wanted those to fall in line that in that way.
Well, I'm the only one that opposed it last time, and I'm still in opposition to it today, and the reason it's on the regular agenda is because I would have pulled it off the consent, and I realize that I'm dealing in, this is an exercise in futility, but I'm going to go through again and tell you why I'm opposed to these fee changes and these fee increases, and then y'all can vote me down, and we'll go on and make it law. One thing, these things are misleading, because the last time when we dealt with this, we had a current fee, we had a city proposed staff fee, and then we had an arbitrary cost of services fee. And the motion was made, I believe it's Mr. Fleming, that said, let's not go to the city recommended fee, but let's go to the outside on the cost, on the arbitrary fee of what it cost. And I believe Ms. Grindstaff seconded that. And that's what we did. Now, I'm going to take one example, one fee here, and I'm taking the most extreme. But you can take these same figures and apply them anywhere in here. We've got one fee there of $25, which is an inspection fee, a fire safety inspection fee. In 2008, this fee did not exist. In 2009, it was brought to council. It said it cost us $25 to do this. We want to charge the $25, and council authorized this. If I remember, it was by a 4-3 vote. But we authorized a $25 fee. Now here we are in 2016. This inspection fee currently is $25. The staff recommendation was that it go to $100. And then on the apartment, it was $100 plus building at $10 per building. So the inspection fee was proposed to go from $25 to $100. The arbitrary cost was $172. So what we have done is gone from a fee that is now $25 to $172. Now, let me break this down to you and tell you just exactly what this means in layman's terms, and you can take the math and figure it any way. If a restaurant charged $2.50 for a glass of tea, and all you have to do is move a decimal point from that 25, and management says we want to charge $10 for this glass of tea, again, just moving a decimal point, and then city staff, or then the city council comes up and says, no, you need to charge $17.20 for that glass of tea, again, just moving a decimal point, you've gone from $2.50 on that product to $17.20. Now, I'm telling you, if this was done in the real world, that restaurant would not be there tomorrow because they would have priced themselves completely out of business. My point is we must take reasonable steps here and not take these gigantic steps, and no one but government can do this because only government can say we mandate that you must do this, we mandate that we're the only ones that can provide this service, and we mandate that you pay us anything we ask for. These fees are excessive. They are tremendously excessive. If you had brought me a 10 or a 15% increase, I could listen to it. But when you bring me fees that go from $25 to $172, that in 2008 were non-existent, they were part of the taxes that we pay, health, safety, and welfare, which is what we are told in our charter to provide. We pay taxes for health, safety, and welfare. These were provided at no charge in 2008. In 2009, they cost $25. In 2016, they cost $172. And these are fees that will not be absorbed. These are fees that will be passed on. And the poor grunt at the bottom of the pile is the one that's going to have to pay for all of this eventually. They're not going to be absorbed. So we've made a situation where we say, We're going to do it. We're the only ones that can do it. You're going to pay us, or you can go out of business. And that's exactly what we're telling people. That is government abuse. And that's exactly what we're seeing in our federal government today is government abuse, and people are getting tired of it. This is abuse. It's wrong. I want to give you a couple of figures. In Midland County last month, there were 55 bankruptcies. Now, we're not that far from Midland County. And when you take we being the periphery of that, this same recession is coming to San Angelo. There was an auction in Midland and Odessa last week about by the airport, and they sold repossessed equipment at auction for pennies on the dollar. $1 billion worth of sales is the figure I've received. This is real, people. People are hurting. People are suffering. People that were making $20 an hour last year are now struggling to get an $8 job. And instead of the city working with our citizens and say, we know that we're all in this together, we're taking increases not of 10 or 15%, but taking increases that are 8 and 10 times above what we are charging at this time. That's government abuse, and it is wrong. And just one more point. We give our employees 5% raise, a 5% raise last year. And now as a city, we're taking to our citizens and we're charging them from 25 to 172. That is an 8-fold increase. It's wrong. It's government abuse. No one but government could do it. And when you go from $2.50 on a glass of tea to $17.20 on a glass of tea, you're never going to sell another glass. And just to put this on the other end, if you've got a house that's on the market for $250,000, that means tomorrow it's $1,720,000. Just do the math. These are excessive, it's government abuse, and it's wrong. I'm not going to support any of them. Now, make your motion and we'll get it over with.
Can I speak?
Yes, sir.
I like your argument, but I don't agree with what you're saying in that it's exactly the opposite. If this cost of service is $172, then it's not on the business that if this business doesn't pay the $172, then the taxpayer pays this $172. The difference between $25 and $172. So that's all of you people out there have to pay for this business to get their inspection. Well, I don't feel that's fair. If I have a business and I'm making money and I have to get an inspection in order to make that money, I need to pay for that service and get it done. So I see this as us not subsidizing a business that can't afford it. If they can't afford the increase, and these figures that you gave are on schools and apartment complexes. When the inspectors go out there to inspect that, there's nobody in this room that will agree that $25 will cover the inspection of that building. You can't agree with that. The time that it takes, these apartment complexes, sometimes they take more than a day to do the inspection on them. So $25 for a full day is just not fair. And that means that every resident in this city is going to be paying the remainder of that. So I see this as a cost of service where, and one of the biggest problems that I see nationwide that we're doing is we are keeping these fees down low, and we are allowing them, the cost keeps going up and up and up, and the taxpayer is the one that's paying for all these things. If the business is a good business, it should be able to afford to pay for something that helps them stay in business, that they have to pay for. So I am going to move to approve as presented this item.
I'll jump in next. I agree with Rodney on the philosophy behind it. I think when you have a fee-based system, that it's the most fair to the citizen. Because if the citizen is not a business owner, even though they access the business, at least the cost is controlled and it's clear as to what the fee is based on. That way they're not subsidizing something that they don't have direct use of. I guess, Mayor, I would ask you, when you implemented the inspection fee, I wasn't on the council, you were, did you think it was a necessary inspection?
Three of the 7 did not. They
Well,
felt that it was part of what we pay taxes for.
Okay, so the question really is the inspection itself necessary to protect the health, safety, and general welfare of
Yes,
the
I
public?
feel it is. And at $25, it was acceptable. At $172, it is not.
Okay, thank you. So if we believe that the inspection is necessary, then what we're looking for is just to make sure that we're actually covering the cost of that and no more. I also take issue with the word arbitrary. Morgan, if I trust you to do your job, I believe your numbers are not arbitrary, but that you have done your due diligence to make sure that what we're doing is in fact the cost of that service. So the word arbitrary tends to lead to an idea that those are without basis and potentially skewed for some other purpose, and I reject that completely. Daniel, you may have something that you want to say about that, and I'll let you do that.
I do. I just want to use the mayor's analogy of a glass of tea. I think if we start off with a glass of tea that's free, we're not going to make it as a business. Well, we start off charging 15 cents for that glass of tea. We're not going to make it as a business either. We have to charge what that amount would be, and that's relatively what we're doing to start off with. Instead, we're trying to get back to that $2.50, what we should have started off with, is what we're trying to do at this point, and that's the cost, the estimated cost of doing that service. Mayor, I know you and I have had back and forth discussions about this, and we disagreed, but I still support our stance that this is our cost of doing service, and this is what we should be charging.
Johnny?
Mayor, I just want to add that I think that if we hadn't, and I can respect your view of it, okay? But at the end of the day, we can agree to disagree. Now, if we hadn't leapfrogged from 25 to 172, I think we wouldn't be having this conversation. If we'd have taken baby steps from back then, I think we may have been all right. But I can see where that cost. I mean, it's got to come out of the pockets of the folks that are using it. You know, I've often talked about how when people gripe about roads, well, that's where they're the ones using the roads, so that they're the ones that need to pay for the roads. This is us at a citizenry. But again, if we hadn't leapfrogged, just ballooned it up to 172, it's hard to swallow. But I guess that's a way of catching up. And again, I don't want to subsidize anything that I don't have to subsidize. So I'm going to have to agree to disagree with the mayor and go with your proposals. So.
Any further comment on this?
One thing that I'll point out, and Daniel, since Daniel's come here and he made a commitment to this right off the bat, to get these fees to where they need to be, and then reassess this on a yearly basis. The problem in the past was the city manager or even the city council was not in favor of increasing fees as you go. And so then one set of city council persons and city manager gets stuck eventually, because eventually somebody's going to have to pay, and it's going to have to be a huge jump. Well, I think Daniel's made a commitment to all of us as a city that we're really on the right track where we'll get this thing straight, we'll correct our course, and then we'll start doing it gradually from then on out. And that's the way you need to do it, I believe. And everybody knows that everything gets more expensive. Every single thing. Whatever I bought in 2009 is pretty much more expensive now in 2016. So I hate having this big jump also, but it's just the cost of doing business.
I need to correct you on one thing. When these proposals were brought to us last meeting, it was $25 and the city staff recommended $100. You said, let's go to $172. So the staff brought us a recommendation and you rejected the recommendation. If we would have stayed with the recommendation of the city, it would have been a little easier to swallow. You're not staying with the recommendation of the city. You have gone far, far and above. The city wanted to go up 4 times. You want to go up 8. That's what I'm telling you. So your argument doesn't hold, because the city made a recommendation, and we as a council, by a 6-1 vote, rejected the city recommendation. That's so. Any other comment on this?
Sure. On the city recommendation, though, allow me to rebuke what he said. No, it cost. I'm going straight to the cost. If it was 20 times this cost, I would have said, my opinion only, I would have said I'd go up to the 20 times, 50 times. I don't care. If that's what the cost is, and that's what city staff came back and gave us what the cost is, I don't want the city residents having to subsidize these businesses and pay for some use that they're not getting out of. So if you're saying that I'm the bad guy on this, well, I'll accept that, but I don't think it's a bad thing to not make a resident in this city pay for a business's expense.
That's right, because if the difference is $72, we're all paying for the $72. And they haven't agreed to do that, but that's what's going to happen. It's going to be somewhere in the tax rate or buried somewhere else, but they will be paying for it. So I believe that the most fair system is to make sure we cover the cost of a permit fee so that the average citizen is not directly impacted by subsidizing that fee. And I'm going to say it again, if we believe that a fire inspection is a necessary service to protect our citizens, then I believe that the entity that must be inspected needs to pay for that. And I'll stick with that as well. I think that we need to be clearer as a government as to where these tax dollars go, and let fees cover where they can.
Did you second that?
Yes, sir, and I just want to make sure again that I have not tried to use the term arbitrary. That I think it's a very incorrect and misleading term.
Well, I'm going to use the term tax and spend, tax and spend, tax and spend. And people pay taxes on their property, and I think they ought to be able to expect some level of service for the taxes that they pay. I think this is above that, and I oppose that. Go ahead.
We ask for public comment.
But when you don't have the service cover the fee, you're not asking, you're telling everybody else that they're going to pay for it.
Do I have public comment on this item before we vote?
I've got one last question.
Oh, okay.
I still can't put my hands around how the resident pays for it. If I'm the owner of the business, I have to pay the permit if I'm going to get a fire inspection. How does the resident pay for it?
It's under the old proposal. So if staff had proposed that the fee be $100, but the cost was actually $172, there's a gap there, there's a loss. So if you're just matching that revenue stream with that cost of service, there's a loss.
The resident
and our
would pay the
budget
$72
balances,
difference.
so that comes from somewhere, right?
And she's got to find the $72 somewhere else.
To fully fund the service.
Gotcha.
Because the fee isn't fully funding the service, something else is.
Okay.
Public comment. Bill?
My name is Bill Ware. I'm just a poor, dumb citizen. As I understand it, these fire inspections or other inspections are carried on by employees of the city. They are paid through the city budget. I don't understand where these, for example, this $172 comes from. You're already paying the guy to go out there and do the inspection. He does the paperwork on city time. You're not paying him extra for it. So how come the big expense? It's already in the budget to pay this man or woman to do these things. Why do we have to pay more?
Thank you, sir. Any further public comment on this item before we vote? Morning, Jim.
Yes, I'm Jim Turner, and like I said last time, this is really a discussion on how we subsidize things like business in the city. This is just one of the ways we have subsidized businesses by keeping the fees less than the cost of the service we provide. There are a lot of subsidies we supply to business. This is part of the overall economic development philosophy the city has. And what we're seeing here is a disagreement on how that's going to happen. Do we give it to them in terms of grants or low fees? Do we do it as part of sales tax? Do we do it as part of property tax abatements? All of those end up in the same net result. We are supporting and preferring this type of economic growth in some areas, not in others, by lowering fees, grants, subsidies, tax relief, whatever you want to call it. And this is one of the things that cities do in order to carry out their policy. What you've got here, and you don't want to get hung up on the idea, everybody, the end result is taxpayers and citizens of San Angelo are going to pay for this. When the fee goes up on a business, that's a cost that has to be passed on in making profits, of course. When we subsidize somebody else ends up paying for that. If we give a tax break here, somebody else has to take up that tax load. All of this has to be done. What you're debating here is not whether or not these fees are the right way to do it, are legal or anything like that, but what is your preferred way of supporting businesses, home ownership, property, etc.? How do you deal with all of these conflicting goals here? It's a philosophical thing. This is a philosophy that the council has to work out. In the past, big business was the primary focus of a lot of the economic policy here. Now you're bringing it into a more balanced by putting more of the cost of doing business on the business itself. Legitimate way of doing it. But that's what you have to realize this is. This is not whether it's right or wrong, but how do we support what areas of the economy and the community directly and indirectly. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Further public comment before we vote on this item?
I would like Morgan to answer Mr. Ware's question, though.
To speak to the expenses, every year in the budget, we have to identify how to fund expenses. And that may be payroll, it may be supplies, it may be utilities. Largely what's driving this cost of $172 is payroll, use of a vehicle, those things being out in the field. So every year we assess, how are we going to fund this service? How are we going to fund payroll? It's not a given that we're automatically going to fund it the way we have in the past. And so the proposal is to fund that service with that expense. So yes, it's in the budget this year. In fiscal year 16, it is in the budget that we fund those positions. We fund their supplies. We fund their operating expenses. But moving forward, a more transparent way to do it and a best practices way to do it is to instead fund that specific service with that specific fee.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further public comment? Time to call for the vote. All in favor of accepting this as proposed and seconded, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Last week it was a 6-1 vote. Today I only got beat 5-1.
Get more people out of town.
Let's move on now to E, which is the first public hearing and consideration of ordinances amending Appendix A fee schedule in Chapter 11 of the Code of Ordinances, amending Article A 6.000 park use fees, real estate finance, amending Article A 1.000 animal control services fees, amending Article 11.05 water conservation and drought contingency plan, and Article A 8,000 utility-related fees, and amending Article A 8,000 utility-related fees in Chapter 11 Utilities, Article 1102 Water and Sewer Service. Morgan Chegwooden, you are on, ma'am.
Thank you. The first item before you is called park use fees. This is related to real estate division managing the Lake Nasworthy leases. So this is unchanged. Staff's proposal at last meeting, we didn't have any direction to change that to cost of service. So as you'll see, what's before you is the proposed fees as we've worked through those with staff. And you'll recall that as we're estimating that and getting the survey information, we're looking at our peer cities, we're looking at other individuals that offer similar services. And as we estimate those costs of service, we're going through a pretty sophisticated calculator of staff time, operating expense, all of that. So on real estate, those first few items before you, the transfer fee for those kind of the organizational, recreational, grazing, or agricultural leases, the current fee is $50. We're proposing to go to $100. The granting fee for residential, proposing to go to $500 to attempt to begin covering cost of service on that. And the granting fee commercial, proposing to go from $200 to $1,000, just over covering the fee on that. For the granting fee for the organizational, recreational, grazing, and agricultural would actually increase the fee from $75 to $150, not quite covering the cost at $276. And then the late fees, the current fee per month on residential Lake Nasworthy leases is $20 per month. We would propose going to $40 a month. That does The estimated cost on the service on that, it's about $186 every time someone is late on their lease. We wouldn't quantify that as $186 per month, but it is quite cumbersome to our staff for individuals that are late on their lease payments. The next division before you is related to animal services, and the items before you begin with heartworm test, proposing a fee of $10, not quite covering the cost of $16. The estray livestock pickup would be a proposed fee of $25. That does not cover the cost of service at $83, but it's quite cumbersome. With animal services in particular, we have to worry about compliance and opting out of the service. That if we did go to cost of service, folks just wouldn't participate, and then we would have health concerns, public safety concerns that, related to that. Animals pick up at owner's request. That's a new fee that we're proposing, going to $25. We did talk about that briefly last time, how that would work, and that doesn't quite cover the cost of service, but again, with it being a new fee, we wanted to step into that. The removal of dead animal livestock, similar there, $25, just almost covering cost of service. And then owner-requested flea tick dipping treatment at proposing a new fee at $8.
Morgan,
Yes, sir.
before you move on, animals, the new fee of picking up at the owner's request, what do we do about animals that are stray animals that are trapped? Is that going to fall into that area?
No, since there's no owner identified for strays, there would not be an individual to charge the fee to. This is when an owner says, please come get my pet. This is my pet. I know their name. I have their medical records. It's a known owner, and they're requesting that the city come and get their pet from them.
They don't want that pet anymore.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
The next set of fees are related to euthanasia owner requested. We currently charge a fee of $7 for euthanasia regardless. We would propose making a tier because our cost is largely driven by the weight of the animal. And so we would, making it easy math there, we would propose $10, $15, $20, and $25 for the different weights of pets that you see there. When you get over 100 plus pounds, that estimated cost of service can vary widely because a pet that costs $100 is a whole lot different than the pet that weighs 100 pounds is a whole lot different than a pet that weighs 200 pounds or whatever the case may be. The rabies submission head test, we're proposing to increase that fee to $40. It does not quite cover that cost of service, and that cost of service is not staff time, it's not our supplies, it's a bill that we're paying to the state lab for conducting that rabies head test. The transport fee to vet, that's if an owner requests to not use our veterinarian, that we would begin implementing a fee of $25 that is covering the cost of service of $18. Then the animal surrender, we are requesting that if you bring a pet to us that you are giving up because you don't want any more, that we would implement a new fee of $10. And that's something we had quite a bit of discussion with the Animal Services Advisory Committee. I do want to point out that all of these have been to that committee, and they've all blessed these to move forward to this level. But that's one thing we went back and forth on, and we did settle on a proposed fee of $10, regardless of the number of pets you're dropping off, regardless of all of that, just to begin covering our cost and having that responsibility lie with the owner. The next there is related to a live cat trap deposit that we would pay a $20 deposit to check out one of our traps for your own use. The next item there is related to the spay-neuter program. This is related to driving by the federal poverty levels. So the proposed fee is $10 to $65 depending on your different poverty levels, and that is in your background. I apologize, it was a lot of information to put in a slide, so it is in the background though. The next division before you is related to water. We did want to point out that after our discussion last meeting about the water and wastewater utility fees, that we went back to the drawing board and kind of changed what our proposal before you was. We did want to maintain that the multipliers related to the drought contingency levels would be maintained as discussed during our rate study and as discussed with the council in the past. That is unchanged from what we had last meeting. The next fee that we were proposing for water was related to a fire hydrant deposit. We're no longer proposing an increase to that fee. It wasn't a real big driver of cost or something that we needed to really take action on. We're simply recommending that that existing fee that we've been charging be ratified in the ordinance. It's something that's never been read into law, and so we would ask for that to be considered at this time. The next set of fees for water was related to fire service taps. That is also, we are no longer proposing that increased fee, but it is a fee that we've never had read into law. So we would ask that it be ratified in today's ordinance. The next item there is related to deposits. We're no longer proposing an increased fee related to that. Deposits are largely driven to recoup if a customer, walks on their last bill. And due to our recent activity with being able to seek additional collections and things like that, we wanted to let that work and then reassess next year if deposits really needed to be discussed. That after last meeting, we decided that it wasn't the most pressing issue to come forth related to water. And then the tap charges was something that we talked about quite a bit last meeting. We're no longer proposing that increased fee. We're simply going to implement what's already in the ordinance and continue doing that. So no change in the ordinance before you today. Oh, so that's what I just said. Sorry. There is one other fee that we were proposing. Last meeting was related to water and wastewater main extensions over 300 feet. Those are items that are quite cost prohibitive to the city to provide. Our recommendation from staff would be to remove that fee and remove that service. There is private sector that provides that service to citizens. We don't have a whole lot of customers that ask for that kind of thing, but it is quite cost prohibitive for us to provide it at the fees we've been charging. And so our recommendation would be to align with what our sister cities do, which is that we walk away from the service and we don't offer it anymore. For customers that do need that type of service, we'll just connect them with a list of private vendors that do provide that service. And so that is the first reading of that set of ordinances.
Comments, council?
I had one. Yes, sir. Go back to one of the first slides. The one that had that $1,000 proposal, right there.
Granting fee.
Granting fee commercial. You talked about this being cumbersome to the staff, but how do
I
you...
was talking about the late fees.
Yes, but go back, how do you explain the $1,000 proposed fee?
The cost of service is quite nearly $900, and so our intent was to cover cost of service. We could lower that to $877 if it's your desire.
I mean, that's a big jump from the 2 to the 1,000, but
and it's something that hasn't been addressed in quite some time. It's been 1988, 1994, 2007, really, since we've been looking at those types of fees. Wow. And so this is largely a result of in 2015, we launched a streamlined fee review process that's hosted by my office. And in the past, we didn't have that. It was really up to each manager to decide when they want to bring it, what they want to consider. And so you can see that we still, in our second year of fee review, are bringing some long ignored items that do need to be addressed that we would recommend council, consider that we can make them whatever they need to be. We can exclude whatever ones we need to, but we would ask that the council consider these things that have been, long ignored for some time.
That's the only one I have, hard time swallowing right now. It just seems kind of drastic, but.
Elizabeth?
I agree with Councilman Silvas. I don't think in this effort that we should overcharge for anything. I think that's, again, kind of counter to the point we're trying to make with greater transparency is not to exceed what is truly the cost that we have into it. So I would want to see that reduced. I don't know if on the granting fees, if there's what would be maybe more fair as an hourly rate that's something directly tied to the activity. I don't know, but I certainly don't want to see any of the proposed fees go over what we believe to be the estimated cost of service.
Further comment from council?
Yes. Go to the last slide. We're doing away with taps and extensions over 300 feet.
So for tap charges, we would continue to provide that service under 300 feet, and we would just follow the letter of the law and the ordinance to do that. The main extent, so the items that are over 300 feet, though, that it would be staff's recommendation that we stop offering the service.
Okay. All right. That's good.
Rodney?
Again, I would be trying to look at all the fees to be in line with whatever the cost of service would be. It would be my recommendation on this, just like we did on the other fees. Because if the person that's asking for this service to be done doesn't pay for it, then the residents of the city pay for it. I move to approve, this is the first reading, so my recommendation would be to make all the fees the same as the recommended cost.
Did you have a question, Lucy?
Yes, sir, I did. On the fee for dropping off the animals, that new one, I don't much really like that, and I don't think the citizens would like to have to pay to go drop off an animal. They will let it run the road. I mean, you will have to have the animal shelter people come out and pick up dogs that they're going to, citizens will be saying, hey, there's this dog in my yard or whatever. And of course, this thing with charging for that, I don't think it's fair for people to be in danger because there's an animal in their yard and they don't want to pay $10 to have to take it to the shelter.
And it wouldn't really be for strays. Again, similar to what Mr. Self recommended, it would be for owner surrender of their own pet.
Okay, so all the owner has to do is let it go loose, and then it's going to be a stray dog or cat.
I would venture to say that I don't think our staff would let that happen. It's an attempt to get moving in the right direction. It's a philosophical shift that we've got to increase.
It's not even going to be $10. We're looking at $43, isn't it?
The cost to provide that service is estimated at $43.
No, it's 10. Proposed fee is 10.
The
motion was to take it to the estimated cost of service. It would be $43.
There was no motion because this is the first reading.
I thought you made it as a motion.
Well, I can make it as a motion.
I thought you did.
No, he started to, but he didn't.
It was changed to just his recommendation.
Okay.
Can we talk about the animals a little bit more? Because I think that in this case, we are trying to promote a certain behavior by owners, and particularly those that are not interested in keeping their pets. I think this is something that I don't see quite in the same light as I do some of the other things we've looked at. Because, again, an animal that is turned loose does become a stray animal and therefore is, in a way, a danger to the rest of the community. So, Rodney, I could see these being somewhat different, but again, I'm not trying to ignore the fact that these are costs that are borne by someone else. But I would probably maybe like to hear a little bit more what the board said about these.
Well, talk about that first one. I don't get it. Transport fee to the vet. Is it me as a citizen having my animal transported to a vet? Why would I want to do?
Who uses that?
A lot of people. James Flores, Assistant Director in Neighborhood and Family Services. I guess I'll get back on the the ASAC kind of point of view from the charging. I'll take you back a couple of months when we closed the drop-off kennels. We got similar input that I'm hearing today. The negative support that was behind that threatened that we would have animals tied up everywhere. We'd have animals running loose everywhere. Ironically, the numbers did lower from an intake standpoint because I think our goal as a shelter, and any shelter in any city, goal should be to limit the number of intake and maybe possibly educate the consumer on how to keep their animal versus dropping it off over there. Long story short, the numbers of intake are still very high. So that wasn't a negative outcome of closing on the side kennels. Kind of like right now, I don't want to deter the individual that's trying to capture a nuisance on his property. As a property owner myself, I wouldn't want your cat defecating in my yard or your cat urinating in my yard because it is a nuisance. And I should have a right to be able to prevent that nuisance from occurring. That's the person that's not going to be charged when they come in. It is the person that, and there's a lot of these, the culture we're trying to create in our city is, give us a holler, and for $10, I could be the best provider, I could provide a great possibility for this pet versus discarding it, or versus dumping it, or versus taking it out to the county, which we've heard that one as well. most people, kind of like with free adoptions, we do better when we charge $10 than when we do free adoptions. There's something to be said, I think, about the pacification that we provide, and we're asking for a monetary investment on your behalf to help you help yourself with your problem. Because we want to be that end result, even if it's free. I mean, if we don't charge that, then that's great. But what we're really trying to do is eliminate that person from just really getting rid of an animal that is usually it's not its fault for wanting to get gotten rid of. So the board's consensus was, and most people that approved of this from a board standpoint have physically sat in the shelter and spent days there. I'll give you an example. Sunday, we are closed. It's a known closed day, and yet 11 animals were taken in Sunday on a closed day. So we're just trying to help us, obviously the staff numbers, and I can go on and on and on, but the intake has to come down, I think, for us to focus on the healthiness stage that we're in today. And this is one avenue we thought by implementing we would get that type of response from. So it is a little bit of responsibility placed back on the citizen.
I understand what you're saying, but really, money is tight. And I would be one of the people go, no, I'm not paying $10 to go drop off my animal, or if I had to get rid of it, because there had to been a reason why I had to get rid of it. And like you said, some people just don't want them anymore. I understand that.
One of the reasons our numbers are lowering on the intake too is we do receive that phone call, and through resources, through people like Jennifer McCon or certain rescue groups that we deal with on a daily basis, we never see that animal to begin with. We don't even know if that person ever brought it in, because it was stopped and it was put in someone else's hands. And I think that's the resource we need to continue staying focused on. This is just the everyday person that just stands there and says, I don't want him no more, and I'm going to go look at your other ones because I want a new one. That's what we're trying to deter. So I don't know if this is the way to do it or not, but this was the recommendation from the board, and it was higher than that before, and it's at $10 a day. Okay, now, Councilman Silva's for transport to the vet. It's amazing. We there's a lot of owners out there that do not have transportation. And, in lieu of citations, we do a lot of things in lieu of citations. I don't think, and I never have thought, that the citation was how you clean the city from a code standpoint. And I don't think it's how you cure the enormous amount of irresponsible pet owners in the city. I don't think that's how you cure it. However, that deviates from core mission. When I take your animal that is in need of some type of, it's not necessarily to the point where it needs to be euthanized. I think we really come together and figure that process out before we decide to do that, because there is no coming back from that stage. Once it's euthanized, it's euthanized. But in order for me to transport your animal, those are 3.9 mile and gallon getting trucks. That is a $16 an hour paid guy. There's a lot of things that go on with transporting it to the vet. So again, we looked at it from an estimated cost of service, best we could come up with from the time frame, and we did a pretty good map analysis of where these calls originate from versus where the nearest veterinarian was at, and we came up with that figure. We want to provide that figure because, again, our goal as a city, I think, as a shelter, is not to bring in as many animals as we can. That's not the goal. Our goal is to try to help you keep your animal. So if it means taking it to the vet for you, I think we need to compensate the rest of the citizens that we are paying that service for, that are eating the cost right now.
And I'm okay with the $18 cost of service. I didn't realize you provided that service. I had never heard of that.
There's a lot of services we provide today that I don't know where they came from, and I think it's a different discussion. We need to probably discuss our service-oriented aspects of our business that we provide today, because some of those services do interfere with running an efficient department. That's a difference, for something later on down the road. But it is, and we do that. We have no problem doing that. A lot of times in a bite situation, they don't want us to quarantine it. So your right as a property owner is to quarantine it at your veterinarian's office. We have to take that dog to your veterinarian because you don't want it to be quarantined with my department. So there's a lot of those, and there is a ton of bites in this town daily.
Further questions? Well, my same argument that I gave on the last one, I'm giving with this one. And I really think that when a city is in a recession and when things are slowing down, I think it is unconscionable for the city to start going up on fees and raising fees when the citizens are struggling to survive. I'm going to vote against every one of them. We can do them one at a time, or we can do all of them in one bulk. But
I would caution to go to cost of service on the late fees for the Lake Nasworthy lease. We currently are charging a fee of $20 per month. We would be an advocate of a continued fee per month, not a one-time fee, so that it's commensurate with behavior, that if you're only 1 month late, you're not as charged as much as someone who's 3 to 5 months late. 3 months is about the average delinquency. And so we wouldn't recommend going to cost of service on that if it was your desire to go to cost of service. And the animal services one, as you mentioned earlier, there's a lot driving that.
Also, the two that I had questions, the transporting to the vet, if you can make that maybe, I don't know, an even $20, you know, meet us halfway somewhere. And then that other $1,000 one that I am totally against.
Going over the
yes, ma'am.
While there's a lull, I think that, you know, for those watching and listening, everyone here is very cost conscious, and particularly with the water rate implementation, I think there are a lot of citizens that are really worried that are living on fixed incomes. But the fact is, with water, we know there are definite expenses ahead of us. And so when you look at these fees, for someone who is on a fixed income, who does not go out to dinner 4 times a week like many of us do, but truly is counting pennies and nickels and dimes, to have these fees for those who utilize the fees is protecting that person who has no discretionary income and truly needs our protection. And so because of that reason, I am very interested in seeing the cost of the service match the service, because a lot of these are, in fact, discretionary services. You choose to enter into this process. You don't have to. And there are a lot of people that don't. But in the end, those that don't will be subsidizing those that do if we don't move forward in the direction that we're going.
I love statistics, and I love talking about statistics, and I heard a good one this last week. 5 out of 6 people that play Russian roulette think there's no problem with it. So you can take these figures and you can twist them any way you want it. But the fact of the matter is that the citizen is the one that's ultimately paying for every one of these fees. If it's an inspection fee, if it's an animal fee, at the very end, somebody's got to pay for it. Does anyone want to get it started? Because I'm going to vote against every last one of them. So I've already got my vote. I've already got my vote in there.
And
if anybody wants to make some motions and start this fiasco, then go ahead and start it.
It's just a first reading, so I think some of the advice we're giving you is some of the comments we made.
It will be made in the form of a motion.
We have to approve it for the first reading before we can approve the second reading.
To approve it with whatever edits you're requesting. I will point out that none of the fees we're proposing are new services. These are services we're already providing. So the citizen is already paying for these services. We're just trying to quantify that in the best way, to take it off the back of the general taxpayer or the general water user.
Well, I'll be the bad guy here, and I'll move to approve as presented, except for the pet services portion. I would say that the proposed fee would be the fee under the pet services portion, because that board has looked at those fees, and that is kind of what they've talked about. Is that correct, James? So I would leave those fees with what the proposed fee is, not what the estimated cost of service is, and then also that $1,000 fee on the front, it go to the proposed fee, not the.
I'm sorry, are you saying cost of service?
No, the cost of service, not the 1,000. So those 2 changes and everything else would go to the estimated cost of service.
It's really one change. Is it really one change?
So can I clarify the motion as I understand it?
What's that?
Can I clarify the motion as I
Yes,
understand
please.
it? Okay. You're making a motion to approve the fees at the estimated cost of service with the exception of the animal service-related fees.
Which would go to the proposed fee cost.
Right.
As recommended by
And-
their board.
Yes.
And I believe there was a question about the late
$1,000.
fee- The late fee for the lease. They do not recommend to go to the estimated cost of service on that one, but go to $40. That way, it's monthly
Yes.
and it can
And
prohibit the behavior. that
That's
they're-
part of my motion also.
Plus the $1,000.
The $1,000 would go to cost of service. So there's three changes.
Well, I think it covers that when you say estimated cost of service.
Okay,
for
yeah, it
everything
does
you've said,
actually.
Yeah.
So it'll go down instead of going up.
May I ask, why would you reject the staff's recommendations on everything we have talked about, and now you're saying, I will accept part of the staff's, but I'm going to go with what they want on the why would you reject the estimated cost of service on those two when you've said across the board, we've got to go to estimated cost of services? I don't understand this.
Well,
I don't
the way-
understand the thinking.
Well,
The
a lot of
last
people
time
don't
you
understand
said
my
we
thinking.
must take estimated cost, and now you're saying, let's take the staff's proposal on this and not go to estimated cost. I don't understand.
Hold on a second. Bump.
Okay, I got me again.
Okay? You just threw me under the bus.
But I'm curious.
Can I answer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. The reason why my thinking, and this is only me, and no one seconded this either, but on the services for the pets, I see that more as a health issue than the services for all the other things, and they're all businesses for profit. Well, these fees for pets, this is not a business, or it's not a profit business, so that's where my view is, the difference on these fees. So that's how I explain it. But I agree. A lot of people don't agree with me, and probably think I'm crazy. But that's where I'm coming from. And no one seconded it. Yes,
I agree, and I'll second it.
I'll also point out that the board actually reviewed, the Animal Services Board reviewed and made the recommendation on the proposed amount. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Do I have public comment on this item? Okay, the motion has been made that we use all of the estimated cost of services, except for those that we don't want to use the estimated cost of services, and we go with the staff proposal.
No, sir, that should not be the motion.
Let's let Brian read it, please.
But that's the gist of it.
No,
you
sir.
can't say that. And I do still love you, but
I just don't understand. I just don't understand.
I only
how
have
you-
2 more meetings after this. You're really making these last ones hard.
I understand the
Brian.
motion. He's already gone through it. She understands it. She seconded it. Motion has been made and seconded with the two of them, with the exemptions on animal services and the $1,000. That is a business expense. The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. So put a 5-0 on that one. We have 10 minutes. Do we have time to get item number, what is it, H? We have time, John? H is first reading and public hearing for case Z-1601, an ordinance approving a request from Jared Matlock to authorize the rezoning from the low-rise multifamily residential RM1 zoning district to the office commercial CO zoning district on 0.14 acres generally located along the south side of West First Street, across from Far Street. John James, you are on, sir.
John, before you begin, what are you thinking, Mayor? Which way are you going? Because it's going to depend if we have enough time or not. Go ahead, John.
I will listen to this one. Does this have any fees increases?
It does not.
Okay.
We have 9 minutes.
Thank you, John James, Director of Planning and Development Services. This is a zoning case, 0.14 acres located on the south side of West First Street. This is just a couple of blocks from City Hall. The future land use does show this as downtown. It's currently zoned low-rise multifamily residential. The proposed rezoning is to office commercial. It is an existing office. I'll get to that in a second. The future land use, as I mentioned, is downtown. This is the surrounding zoning of the area. Again, it is currently low-rise multifamily, but there is office and some light commercial type uses already in that area. You can see the building here. The picture on the left is from the front, and then the rear of the property. off the alley at the back. It is already being used as an office. It has a prior approval to be used as an accounting office. This would change the zoning to office commercial to allow for other things in the future as well. Just some pictures of the area. There is some residential in the area, but also commercial, as I mentioned. And you can see City Hall there in the background. It is compatible with the zoning ordinance and our plans and policies. These are in your staff report. I won't read through each one, but if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Staff does recommend approval, as did the Planning and Zoning Commission by a 7-0 vote. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And Johnny, this is in your district, so I'll give you the
John,
lead on it.
I guess my only question is, if it's zoned now as low-rise multifamily, how can it also be an office? Why is it an office now?
It got a prior approval years ago for a special use for that site for the accounting office. But that was limited just to that specific use. This more general zoning change would allow it to expand or be other uses in the future.
Okay, I move to approve as presented, Mayor.
Second.
Do we have a second from Marty? Any council discussion on this item? Do I have public discussion on this item? I will call for the vote. The vote is, the motion has been made. We accept as presented. It has been seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. Put a 6-0 on it, please. We have 7 minutes. And we are now ready for what? Jay? Can we do it, Rick? Consideration adopting a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with the San Angelo Performing Arts Coalition, SAPAC, modifying an existing MOU describing fiscal responsibilities relating to the renovation of the auditorium and the approval of a change order to Lee Lewis construction contract for selected alternates and construction allowance totaling $593,916, and authorization to execute any related documents. David Knapp and Rick, y'all have the floor.
We're going to kind of tag team, but to give you just a quick summary of the auditorium project, as you know, that's been one that is moving along. If you haven't been over there to look at it, let me know. I'd be happy to take you in. But the auditorium, basically the floor has been removed, the balcony has been removed. They are excavating behind the building for the addition. And I'll say that Lee Lewis is doing an excellent job working with us on the project, and it's moving forward.
I'd like to thank Lee Lewis for the rain. They promised as soon as they dug the hole, we'd get some
It would rain.
so here we go.
Today, we're coming before you because if you recall, when we awarded the contract to Lee Lewis, at that point, SAPAC, in conjunction with the Area Foundation, made a $1 million pledge commitment to the city. We were fronting some of those dollars to award the contract, and they were going to continue to work to get those funds in. At that point, one of the items we were working on with them was pursuing historic tax credits for the building. They have received information from the state which has qualified the project for that. As you know, when we talked about that, the way those are received, the city is not eligible to receive those. It has to go through a non-government entity. So SAPAC will have to receive those dollars. Currently, our projection is that they will receive a minimum of about $1.6 million that'll be added toward this project. It will probably go more than that, but that's sort of a minimum of what we budgeted for. So in this work you see before you today, you'll note that you had a prior commitment of $1 million. So we're asking to increase that commitment to $1.6 million. The Area Foundation / with SAPAC is still willing to guarantee that, as they have in the past. But what this does is allows us to move forward with some of the alternates that needed to be done that we talked about last time that are included in the Lee Lewis bid. It allows us to move forward with those and get those done. So you've got a few items before you today. You've got a resolution that talks about this process, and what we're doing now is actually needing SAPAC. As we set it up before, the city was paying the bills. We need SAPAC to pay the bills because they're the ones who are going to receive the historic tax credits, and that's the way the system works with the state. So what we'll be doing is flipping that process. So instead of SAPAC channeling money to us and us paying the bills, we'll channel money to SAPAC and they'll pay the bills. That'll be done through one of two ways. We'll either assign them as a third party to the contract, or we'll actually assign the contract to them if necessary. Our hope is that the third party agreement will work. You'll also be authorizing us to move forward with the alternates that total $318,916, and for another one for the orchestra pit lift, which is an allowance of up to $275,000. And then we'll be doing a budget amendment, increasing this budget by $600,000. As you recall, last time you approved that million, we're adding that 600 to it. So those are sort of a synopsis of the three items before you, and we're here to answer questions.
So if we want the grant money, we've got to find someone else to pay for it, which is the reason we are bringing SAPAC on as a paying agent so that we can receive the grant money from the state.
Yes, and you already have that agreement with them in place, an MOU. We're just flipping how we're paying the bills.
We're not changing anything. Yeah, we're just doing some housekeeping.
Correct.
I don't have a problem. Elizabeth?
No problem. And Lee Lewis is fine with this?
We have talked to Lee Lewis and told them up front that we're working on this, and they've been great to work with. They understand what we're trying to do, so they're willing to work with us.
You're gonna attract $1.6 million to the project? Is that what you said?
That's what our estimate for the low end of the historic tax credit that we'll receive as part of the project, or this project will receive.
Way to go.
So, yeah.
We're
and I
one of
have
the
to-
first communities to do this in the state, aren't we?
This is pretty much a new program, and really this is an outstanding project for, I think, the state to be able to hang their hat on as well. So it's good for them. I have to commend SAPAC and the Area Foundation and Matt Lewis and his group for working this process to get the tax credits. They're really the ones who have worked it, so they have worked hard.
Awesome.
Somebody make a motion.
Yes, sir. Before I make a motion to approve, I just wanted to ask Teresa James if she had looked over this. Did you find anything?
I spent most of my time last week looking over
has
this.
a bad name
I
for
want
Rick's
your opinion.
projects.
Yes, I have approved, I've been in multiple meetings with Rick as well as Matt Lewis regarding this project, and was participated in writing the letters. I'll be the one who does the revision on the contract, so we believe it's doable. Our only remaining thing is whether THC is going to be on board, and it appears at this time that they are, so yes, I've reviewed it extensively.
I'll move to approve as presented.
Second.
You have moved to approve. I do have a second. Public comment on this item? Council comment? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Put a 6-0 on that one. It is exactly 12 o'clock. Excellent timing, Rick. We are now going into recess, and we will conduct a joint meeting with COSA DC. After the joint meeting is over, I will come back in here and we will go into executive if there are executive items to be discussed. But right now, we must keep this meeting open and just simply recess it from here to another location for a joint meeting. And it is 12 o'clock. 27, we will reconvene our meeting of the City Council. We are to item number K on our regular agenda, which is consider adopting a resolution authorizing the Public Works Department to adopt and implement the design, construction details, and approved material list for water and sewer in order to ensure reliable and consistent development of the municipal water distribution and sanitary sewer system infrastructures for San Angelo. Rusty, you are on, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Russell.
Council.
Not Rusty. Russell.
I meant Russell.
I answer to a lot of things, so.
Okay, Rusty.
Anyway, in July of 2015, we brought to you the design manual for water and sewer. This is really just, in simple terms, this is just the pictures describing that manual. What we did, and we also developed a materials list where we worked with, local businesses and our development task force and our distribution office, to where we have an approved materials list that describes all the materials that we use in our current water system, and then we want to continue those into our into the design and any future infrastructure projects. So it's just really an addition to that existing design manual. It's just giving you a picture. Like I said, we worked with our development task force and different engineers and developers in town to, to make sure that everybody was on board and it was consistent with that design manual. We combined all the comments. We kind of went back and forth for a while. Our development task force only meets about once a quarter, so it took some time to get this implemented. But that's what we have today, and we're ready to move forward with that.
What would be changing? I'm just seeing authorizing to adopt and implement construction details and approved materials, but I don't know what the construction details or the approved materials are. I mean, what are we changing?
We're not really changing anything. It just gives you a picture. That's all that this is a picture of the written description of what those materials and construction standards were. So, the way we had written this before is that if we made any changes to this design manual, which is what we're doing, we're bringing it back to you for a resolution to get your backing on it.
So you took the specifications that you have in ordinance and essentially put them into a manual that someone.
Right, into a manual or, just a written, originally
Mayor?
in July it was a written form and now we put it into a
Format
picture
change.
form. Yeah, it's just
Okay.
You're not changing anything, you're
No.
just changing the
We're
way
just-
it's displayed.
We're,
Yes,
we're
sir.
adding to. We're still going to
Yeah,
use the written form.
I read that manual from beginning to end, so I move that we approve it. It's a good manual.
Second.
He read the word
I like-
manual.
Manual, yeah. Exactly. This is
M-A-N-U-E-L.
pretty dry.
All right, so we're not changing anything.
We're not
just
changing
Okay,
anything.
I
We're just-
understand now. I thought we were changing something.
No, sorry. We're just adding to an existing manual that's already been approved.
Further questions? Further questions?
Yes.
On either end?
So, the manual that I'm looking at, we're gonna do this by ordinance, so if someone submits something that's different, will you have the option of looking at it?
Well, if it's going against the standard, then I believe, yes, that we could still look at that. I'd kind of have to.
Typically, the answer is no, that the standard's set, and that's what developers are expected to build according to ensure that compatibility and consistency across the system.
Right, because if somebody's coming in with a new meter, we don't want to change that so that they don't talk to one another. We want to make sure that everybody's using the same thing, so that way when our maintenance guys go out there to replace that meter or work on that meter, that it'll be the same meter. We have the same parts in stock. We have the same. We're just being consistent all the way from design phase all the way to the life cycle of that main or meter.
Okay.
Johnny has moved to accept this. Do I have a second?
You had a second. It was me.
You second? Okay, I didn't catch it. Okay, we have had a motion to accept this. We have had a second, and this primarily is just taking the ordinances that we have now and putting them in a format. No changes are being made, no additions, no subtractions.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I need to hear. Do I have any council comment on this? Public comment on this item? All in favor of this, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Let's put a 6-0 on that, buddy.
Thank you.
Good job, Rusty.
Thank you, Rusty. First public hearing and introduction of an ordinance amending the 215-216 budget for our capital project. Ms. Chegwin, you are on, ma'am.
This is related to the auditorium item you took action on earlier today. So this is just first reading to put $600,000 of expected historic tax credits in the budget, increasing revenue and expense so that we can fund those change orders from earlier today.
Somebody move.
I move to accept.
Somebody second.
Second.
Do we have a second from Rodney? And again, this is housekeeping to be able to use the money that we are receiving in a grant.
Yes.
Public comment, council comment. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Put a 6-0 on that one. Stay where you are, Ms. Chegwin. Discussion and consideration of the possibility of issuing rebates of water fees. We do this twice a year, biannually, and we've
Right.
done this since 2006 by ordinance.
Mayor,
And we're
This is
required.
our first.
this is Megan. Megan.
I'll I'll answer to it.
Yes, ma'am.
Every April and November, we review the status of the water fund balance for the water operating fund. And where it stands right now is that our fund balance as of March 31st is $1,369,000. However, our goal by policy is to have that closer to $4.8 million. So staff would recommend no action at this time due to the poor performance in the financials due to the drought.
Do I have a motion either way on this one?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second. Do I have a second from Rodney? And when the balance gets up there, possibly, maybe
Yes,
next
so-
time we'll be able to do something about this.
When we adopted new water rates, we made sure that this language stayed in there. And so the fiscal performance of the fund will continue to be reviewed by this council every April and November forever until we change the ordinance. So no change in our process related to this component of it.
Thank you.
One day, there may be a refund, one day?
There
One
has
day.
been two. There may one day be another.
Wow.
Any other questions from council?
Let me clarify.
Yes, sir.
So the motion is to accept staff's recommendation for no
To
action.
no action.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct
Yes.
on your second? Public comment? All in favor of this, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Let's put a 6-0 on that one, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, on the executive, follow-up and administrative issues, consider possible action on matters discussed in executive closed session if needed. There is nothing to report. There were no decisions made. There is nothing to vote on. We will now
Mayor.
go
Mayor.
to A.
For clarification, that executive session was not part of this meeting.
That is
so
true. That,
didn't
we
have-
had, the meeting, that is right. We have no executive items to meet with this day. The meeting that we had was a joint meeting between the City of San Angelo City Council and the City of San Angelo Development Corporation, and there are no executive items to list, and there are no decisions to fulfill. That better? Consider approving various board nominations. This is B. COSA-DC, Todd Coles from the mayor to an unexpired term ending February 2017. Fort Concho Board, Jason Pierce, SMD 1, an unexpired term ending January 2018. Zoning Board of Adjustments, Gene Cornell, SMD 6, to an unexpired term ending January of 2018. May I have a motion to approve?
Move approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do have Marty and Johnny. We have approved it. Do I have questions or concerns from council on these items? Public comment. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Put a 6-0 on that one, buddy. And now, announcements, consideration of future agenda items. I'll start with you, Ms. Grindstaff.
Well, Mayor, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but there is something that keeps coming up, and that is incentives in the conservation of water use, whether it be for landscaping or other methods that property owners can implement. And we've talked about those. We've talked about those in committee. We've talked about different techniques at council, but we've never seen anything or tried to put something forward. So I think in light of the new water rates going into effect, we need to give our residents some relief if they're being stewards of that water. And so I would like to see us be more aggressive about putting together an incentive program.
And I believe Kendall Hurstfield was asking for this 4, 5, 6 years ago.
Well, as I said, we shake
It's an
our
excellent-
heads, but we agree, but we're still not looking at anything.
I see Mr. Dixon. I hope he heard that. Mr. Dixon, he did hear that. All right, that's a good point. Lucy?
I have nothing.
Johnny? Marty?
Nothing.
Rodney? Then I'm going to entertain the motion
Move
for
we
the last
adjourn.
thing.
Move we
Second.
adjourn.
All in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is over. It is 1:37 PM.